Well, good morning to you. It's now 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. President-elect Trump is wasting no time as he works to fill out his new cabinet.
President-elect Trump's new administration is taking shape, with Trump moving faster than he did in 2016 to fill key positions. Sources say he's expected to nominate Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who currently sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, to become Secretary of State. The two were bitter rivals during the 2016 campaign.
Rubio is widely known as a foreign policy hawk. The Wall Street Journal is also reporting that Mr. Trump tapped Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida to be his national security advisor. Waltz is a Green Beret veteran. And he selected South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to replace Alejandro Mayorkas as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. It looks like Carrie Lake will lose her bid to be elected to the U.S. Senate in Arizona. CNN is projecting that Democrat Ruben Gallego will win that seat, succeeding retiring independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema. And control of the House of Representatives will stay with Republicans, completing a sweep now that also includes the GOP winning the Senate and, of course, Donald Trump securing another term in the White House. Decision Desk HQ said last night the Republicans would take at least 218 seats in the House, just enough for a majority. A handful of races have yet to be called. Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Brian Clark.
Stocks climbed further into record territory Monday. The Dow picked up 304 points and closed above 44,000 for the first time ever. The S&P was up 5, the Nasdaq up 12. The remaining estate of now-defunct crypto exchange FTX filed a $1.8 billion lawsuit against Binance and its former CEO. It attacks the validity of what it called a fraudulent share repurchase deal made by former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried with Binance in 2021. Apple's latest iOS update will allow AirTag owners to share their item locations with third-party users, including airlines, who can use it to track things like lost luggage. United says a system-wide service will roll out with the program in select airports next year. And Boeing employees going back to work this week after the 8-week machinist strike, but they could learn their fate as the company plans about 17,000 layoffs.
Stock futures this morning are down after closing at record highs yesterday. Dow futures are minus 67. The Nasdaq futures minus 54. The S&P futures are down 13 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. No real problems on the roads this morning. The road work that had the off-ramp right lane blocked on the I-40 South Loop exit to 210B. All that construction is picked up. You'll still have just one lane available. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? Tuesday feels like a Monday to me. Back from my, what was it?
Your suspension.
My suspension?
Yes.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
With pay or without pay?
I believe it was without pay.
That figures. Damn company. Anyway, we'll talk about that at 5:35. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What a amazing few days. I love Donald Trump and President-elect Trump and the cabinet positions thus far that it seems like he is engaged in. He's brought in Tom Homan now. I'm really excited about him, as borders are. The conversation over who should be the leader in the Senate. Should it be John Thune? Should it be John Cornyn? Should it be Rick Scott? Now, apparently yesterday during my suspension, Chris Hand gave out the phone number for Marsha Blackburn because he was angry that there's word out there. There's words that Marsha Blackburn the senator may be voting for John Thune to lead the Senate. Now, we don't know. I've heard that list that is out there, some people are saying it's a legit list. Other people are saying it is a BS list. I have no idea. Now, I'll tell you who I'm going to have on coming up at 8:06, and that is going to be Senator Bill Hagerty. He's going to join us at 8:06. He has come out, and he has said that he is going to vote for Rick Scott. He is coming out and he is saying, this is the guy that I want to be the leader in the Senate. You know what I find interesting? And I don't know, Joan and Johnny, you guys can chime in on this if you want. Because I'm taking it one way, and maybe it's just because I'm so geared towards this anti-Trump media. But when they say that Donald Trump is installing loyalists into his administration, his incoming administration, does that have a negative connotation to you? See, to me, it does have a negative connotation. It's almost like Donald Trump, it's like he's a dictator. It's like they're trying to say that he is a dictator and he's putting in these loyalists who will be loyal to former president and now president-elect Donald Trump.
Isn't this a songbook that they've read from for years now? I feel like we're so over that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Joan.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, the term loyalist, it seems like it has this negative connotation to it. And I don't know. I don't mind if the president-elect puts loyalists into his cabinet. That's the way it should have been. He has been screwed time and time again by people from his first cabinet and from his first administration, by people who were not loyal to his agenda and not loyal to the president. Now, yes, I want them to be loyal to the Constitution and loyal to America. But when you look at the amount of people from his first administration that went out and they wrote books and they've been trashing Donald Trump at every turn, John Bolton, of course, being one of them, I just think, okay, you know what? This clearly was a mandate. What happened here earlier this month clearly was a mandate. And so for me, I am absolutely on board with loyalists going into the incoming administration. I mean, I don't know, Johnny, where are you at with the term loyalists? I understand it could go either way.
Well, to the left, yeah, they're trying to make it a negative, but anybody that's in charge, this goes for business included. You want someone that is loyal to your brand. It doesn't mean you're a yes man. It just means that they can count on you. You are loyal.
Loyal to the cause.
Exactly.
Loyal to the cause. That is exactly right. So I've been gone for a few days, and there's been a lot of headlines that have been out there. Fascinating to watch as all of this continues to play out. Now, you remember what Megyn Kelly said.
It was
too brotastic, okay?
Okay, talking about, of course, Donald Trump and by and large his campaign. She was talking about the Madison Square Garden event, but by and large, she was also talking about Donald Trump's campaign. Well, you may have heard white women sided with President-elect Donald Trump for the third straight cycle. He also made inroads with Latina voters and young women. Donald Trump, this is from The Hill, by the way, Donald Trump improved on his 2020 margins with Latina women by 8 points, according to Edison Research. And among young women, Trump improved by 11 points compared to the last election cycle, according to NBC News exit polling. While Kamala Harris did win women, by and large, generally speaking, Donald Trump's gains with this particular voting bloc have Democrats reeling as they work to understand what went wrong on election night. Well, I mean, look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Democrats lived and died on abortion. And as we always said, it's about the economy. It's about men in girls' restrooms. That's what this was based on. As we always said, it's about the economy. There is a million ways to not get pregnant. There's ways if you want to get an abortion, if you live in a pro-life state, you could go to another state. You can get that abortion if you want one. You can't escape the economy. You couldn't escape the economy. You couldn't escape men in women's and girls' locker rooms. You just couldn't. So that's why women, although, yes, Kamala Harris did win women, generally speaking, Donald Trump made a lot of inroads with obviously not only women, but also with a lot of other categories, a lot of other Democrats as well, demographics as well. Meantime, I love this. Scott Jennings over at CNN. Have you noticed that, and I noticed this right off the bat, that he's like one of the only voices of reason, the lone voice of reason on CNN. And he has been on there trying to help the Democrats at CNN sort of deal with and understand exactly what happened. There was a great back and forth between Scott Jennings and a guy named Pete Dominick. Now, this guy, Pete Dominick, supposedly he's like a comedian. Well, Pete is having a hard time grasping reality.
If you look at the arc of the Biden presidency, he was in really good shape until August of 2021. When Afghanistan happened, he went under 40, she went under 40, and they really lived there until the end of the presidency. He's still there.
Why? I'll tell you why.
Because he ran and told us that the adults were back in charge, and that was the opposite.
Yeah, they
of
were
that.
because Donald Trump was a child.
And you know what else?
Yeah.
And you know what else?
He's
the fact that they wouldn't give these 13 service members' families the time of day.
Dude.
The time of day.
I'm sorry, but Donald Trump hates veterans. He called them suckers and losers.
Lord.
He did.
Stop
he
it.
absolutely, despite he has his whole life. He has his entire life.
I know you're super emotional. I just.
Of course I am. I'm terrified.
I'm telling you
It's kind of funny. It's like, dude, what are you terrified of? That's one of the things that I've noticed online. People say that they are terrified of the incoming administration. I don't know why you're terrified. Donald Trump's whole point has been to protect America. And so that's what I would ask. But you can tell as this conversation is going on that there just seems to be this eye roll as this guy, again, Pete Dominick, supposedly a comedian, is having this hard time grasping reality. And I think the other Democrats on the table, I think they are sort of in the acceptance phase of all of this, but not this comedian, not Pete Dominick.
I'm terrified.
I'm telling you the political reality is that when they made that decision...
It doesn't matter. When you don't admit
that
Donald Trump hates veterans. You don't admit it. You deny a man, Chief John Kelly, a Marine. You say he lied.
You're still campaigning.
You say he lied. It's not over. It'll never be over. It'll never be over. You wish.
I love that. So you heard Scott Jennings say, you're still campaigning. It's over, brother. It's over. And he's saying it in sort of like a sympathetic or empathetic way. And it is over. But you heard Pete Dominick say, it'll never be over. It'll never be over. Well, sorry, but it is. For not only the next 4, but possibly if J.D. Vance does half as well as I think he's going to do, for another 4 and maybe even another 8, another total 12 years. And there's some people saying that it'll take that long for the Democrats to get over all of this. By now, we all know that Donald Trump made huge gains literally everywhere. So why this guy, Pete Dominick, and a lot of other people, by the way, The View, they're still having trouble grasping reality. A lot of Democrats still having trouble grasping reality. And why they're having such a hard time is beyond me, because the facts are the facts are the facts. This right now is a time for introspection. And this guy just doesn't get it. And again, not to belabor the point, and I've been saying this since after the election, I really like how Jennings has been speaking in this very low and empathetic and calming manner. And this guy, Pete Dominick, he just can't help himself. He goes on.
I mean, you guys live on the tippy top of bullshit mountain. If you actually think that so many people think that the pullout of Afghanistan was the pivot point, are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, I can read a chart and I can read a poll. I guess you can't. But the reality is when he made that decision.
Your petty insults are so weak, dude. You have no idea. Like, I don't even understand if you hear yourself talking. Look, you can laugh all you want, but like, I can't read a chart. Like, it's so hacky. It's so uninteresting.
Look, the reason that we brought this up is because that was from a Democratic.
See, I love how Jennings is just laughing at this dude. And really at this point, because you can hear how insane this guy is. And it's like, at this point, you do just have to laugh. Because what else do you say to somebody like this? How else do you react to somebody like this who says that Republicans and Trump supporters are at the tippy top of BS Mountain? Let's check the roads. 5:16 on WTN.
Looks like the road work is all clear now. The I-40 South Loop to exit 210B, that's for southbound I-65. They've picked up all the work. You've got both lanes available on that ramp right now, and traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:17, Nashville's morning news. As far as your weather today, partly cloudy and a high of 65 right now. You said 52, Johnny?
50
degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, last couple of days we found out a few things about just how massive a Trump victory this was. But when you look at the numbers, not only on Trump's side, but also the numbers as far as the amount of dollars that Kamala Harris paid, $100,000 to build that set for the Who's Your Daddy podcast. I know you've heard this before. I've been off for a few days, so I want to get all this off my chest. I mean, I saw that number, $100,000 to literally build the set for a podcast. And my first thought was, what did she do? Like buy a house and refurb the house? That is absolute insanity. Harris supposedly paid $1 million to Oprah Winfrey for that infomercial. By the way, Oprah has now denied that. Harris apparently paid other celebrities as well, including Beyonce. She blew through it. We talked about this on Friday. She blew through $1 billion, Kamala Harris did. And there's $20 million missing. Just an absolute train wreck. And honestly, I would say this. Isn't it sad when you have to pay people to endorse you? And so the media and Kamala Harris and Hollywood, they all clearly misplayed everything. And I do like what Bill Maher had to say.
My message to the losers, look in the mirror. No? Well, maybe you should. Sorry. Well, that's my feeling. Losers look in the mirror, okay? Yeah.
I mean, listen, Bill Maher is absolutely right. Some are more introspective than others, of course. But some Hollywood celebrities are, of course, saying that they're going to move away again from our country. Eye roll, whatever, dude. One of the things that I thought was interesting, though, this is sort of like an interesting flex, because they're saying that they're not getting any respect here, and that's why they want to move away. I thought that was interesting, because could it possibly be you Hollywood elitists, jackholes, that you thought that we were dumb enough to vote for Kamala Harris just because you said so? And now that we've said, no, your opinion means jack, you're taking that to mean that we don't respect you. Well, here's the thing. I think that I actually speak for a lot of, Trump supporters. You're right. We don't respect you. because you don't respect us, and you don't respect the vote, and you don't respect the will of the American people.
For months, Democrats have been saying, how is this even close? And they're right, it wasn't.
I mean, that's true. And not to mention the fact that you still have some of these folks out there, again, not to belabor the point, but, folks on The View and some of the other people out there in Hollywood just refusing to grasp reality. That's why I wanted to play this audio from Bill Maher, because he is saying losers need to look in the mirror. And one of the things that Maher talked about was, of course, the strength of the female vote. And really, every single demo, Trump won, and he won handily. I mean, when I say won, I mean he made inroads, and that led to his victory. And so let's face it, Kamala Harris had a very, very hard time in this election, and that's why they were working so hard to try to prop up her campaign with these celebrity endorsements.
But, Kamala underperformed in every demographic. Although she is still polling very well among illegal immigrant inmates who want sex change operations. Totally on her side.
There you go. Oh, well. By the way, one of the things that I love about Tom Homan, when I saw that Tom Homan was going to be the border czar, one of the things I've noticed, and I know that Chris played some audio yesterday of Homan with AOC. That is a great audio bite. You heard it yesterday. I'm not going to play that today. This is actually my favorite Tom Homan moment. It is when he was testifying in front of the House and Pramila Jayapal, and he got into it back and forth.
Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
Mr. Homan! You know what I mean?
Did you see when she used the gavel to hit the desk too? She pounded it with this look on her face like it was anger.
Oh, yeah, she was ticked.
Yeah,
I don't even know when this was, but one of the things that I'm noticing is whether it's Stephen Miller, whether it's Tom Homan and some of these other folks, is that their internet moments where they take on folks on the left, they're going viral all over again.
Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
Exactly.
The witness will suspend.
Where is he wrong?
He's not wrong.
Exactly.
And that's why people who are Trump supporters, they see those moments, and that's why what I see that Donald Trump is putting in, air quoting, loyalists into his incoming administration, I'm all for it. That's what we need, is people who are loyal to what the American people want coming up in the next 4 years and beyond the next 4 years. 5:23, and Joe and Jones has the news coming up at 5:30.
I'll tell you, I-24 was shut down for hours last night. We'll tell you why. There's also a renewed push to get rid of the grocery tax in Tennessee, but not everyone's on board. We've got those stories coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joe. And 5:24 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here, and let me tell you something. Every single night at homework time, I thank the Lord for my friends at Xfinity and Xfinity Internet. In my house, we can stay connected with Wi-Fi coverage that delivers the speed we need, and you can too. Listen, homework and radio shows, they don't wait for the internet to work. You need a reliable connection, even when everyone is online and working. I rely on Xfinity, and if there are issues, Xfinity has 24/7 customer service here for you whenever you need it with in-home Wi-Fi support. And if you're on the go, you can stay connected with over 20 million secure Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. So get the best Wi-Fi for your life, whether it's doing homework with the kids or work for the paycheck. Rock-solid internet is only a phone call away with Xfinity. To get started, call 1-800-XFINITY, online at Xfinity.com, or drop into an Xfinity store today for more details.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good morning. It is now 5:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes, and it's a chilly one this morning, too. A pedestrian who was hit by multiple vehicles as he walked along I-24 in Antioch last night has died. Police say they're not sure why he was walking on the interstate. The crash shut down all westbound lanes of I-24 for several hours last night. Nashville City Council is taking up whether to ban street vendors in almost all of downtown Nashville. Today, council will vote on a proposal that would expand restrictions to the Gulch, where complaints have been on the rise. These folks spoke to Channel 4 about that proposal.
It wouldn't exactly be a walk in the park to have street vendors and, huge crowds kind of trying to walk through here.
I'm not entirely sure that I would feel safe riding a bike in this area because I would be scared to get hit by a car. I think that if you widened the sidewalks, it would definitely help.
Nashville DOT says 29 pedestrians have been struck by cars in the Gulch over the past 3 years. Another push from a state legislator to eliminate the Tennessee grocery sales tax. Representative Afton Bain has reintroduced a bill to replace the 4% tax on groceries with a bill to increase business taxes, costing Tennessee businesses some $800 million. Opponents of that bill say taxing businesses more means they'll raise the price of their goods. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures are pretty flat now after yesterday's record highs. The Dow futures are down just 3, NASDAQ futures minus 31, and the S&P futures are losing 8 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 5:32 on Nashville's Morning News. Are the relatives coming to your house for Thanksgiving dinner? Let Busy Bee help you by ensuring that your home is in-law and relative ready. Busy Bee has a limited number of 14 SEER 1 and 1.5 to 3 ton split heat pumps for only $69.95. Now, this system offers a great balance of energy, efficiency, and performance, and year-round comfort for residential homes. How about $750 off of an upright tanked water heater with circulation kit, or a free package upgrade for air duct cleaning? This is the company you need to go through for your HVAC. And don't forget about the Beehive Club. I've been a Beehive member for years. You can call them as well, 615-775-7833. Now, if you are a Beehive member right now, you are eligible to be able to get another Beehive membership for your in-laws. If you want to give it to them for, say, for example, the holidays, you can. You qualify for that additional membership for the in-laws if you are a current Beehive member. Bringing families together the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. For satisfaction guaranteed, call these folks. They are your Rude Pro partner. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com.
Got a problem this morning on I-24, though. Westbound lanes just past Blue Hole Road overpass. It's stop-and-go traffic, and the right lane is blocked there near exit 60 because of an accident. Also at the South Loop, the road work there is clear at the exit, I-40 South Loop exit to 210B. All that construction is cleared away. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
.537 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to the Gang of Three. It's like the gang's all back finally.
Yes, finally.
Joan was gone for a week, and then I was gone for a day.
Suspended.
Yeah.
Without pay.
Without pay.
Yeah.
You rebel. You rebel-riser.
Yeah.
You know, there's part of me that feels like I'm experiencing a little bit of stolen valor here. Because...
Explain.
Well, I suspended without pay because, remember, this all unfolded on, was it Friday?
Friday.
Yeah.
Where YouTube had blocked little old me because, well, we didn't know why until after we got off the air. But apparently they suspended little old me because of medical misinformation.
Yes, which I don't believe you talked about anything medical that day.
I went back and looked at my notes. I did not talk about anything medical misinformation-y on Thursday. I didn't.
However,
Chris Hand did.
Yes, he did.
Oh, so he got us suspended and
Yes.
you got the suspension from the company?
I did.
Yes.
And I was like, look, I didn't snitch on Chris, but it was like, wait a minute. So then they ended up, because I got kind of upset with people. I was sitting there at Comic Coffee Starbucks. And I was like, I did not talk about anything medical misinformation-y. Nothing. I didn't talk about vaccines. I didn't, as far as I could know. I mean, listen, we fly without a net here in talk radio, so God knows what I may have said, to be honest. But I'm reasonably certain I didn't talk about that. Chris did. And so we actually protested the strike, if you will, and protested me being booted off. But the problem is they put us right back on after I was off the air. So I missed an entire day.
Of course.
And, you know, memo to YouTube, I get paid on digital stuff and streaming and all that kind of stuff. So I basically did. I lost like a day's pay on YouTube. And it angers me.
It should, because you were not guilty of it.
I was not guilty. But you know what? If it helps my street cred, then I'll go ahead and take that stolen valor.
Well, may as well.
Listen, damage is already done.
Yep.
Doggone it. I was really upset when I left. By the way, just so we're kidding. I did not get suspended without pay.
But it sure has been fun spinning that web.
I'm sure that it has been.
Yeah.
I actually heard about that when I got back. I went to Florida is what I did. And it was...
See what happens when you go to Florida, like how everyone loses it?
Oh, I know. Yeah. I know. Well, you know. People just automatically think that I've gotten fired for one reason or another. So it's just another day in my life. I work in radio. This is what happens.
That's what happens.
Well, that's our image, I guess, because anytime anybody goes on vacation, that's where the listeners first go. Did you get rid of them?
Johnny, have you ever been fired, Johnny?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dan?
Did you ask that?
Yeah. Come on.
I don't know. Well, one time.
Okay.
One time I got downsized. I didn't get fired. It was a KVOR in Colorado Springs. I was the program director and a news anchor, and I was there for all of a year. And then the company at the time came in and they just downsized everybody, and I was on the list. Best part of that was, Joan,
yeah,
I came in. Part of my job was to downsize a whole bunch of people, and then I was the last to go. So I had to fire like 8 people, and then I was the 9th.
That always happens.
I told them that. This is chicken. Beep.
Yeah.
So you haven't been fired yet, Johnny. You know what that means?
What's that?
He's due.
Oh.
Man, you suck.
Boy.
What is wrong with you?
Why are you putting the black juju on the...
You know what? I will tell you, 35-ish, 36, 37 years in radio.
Mm-hmm.
Knock on wood. The fact that I haven't been fired, if you will, is actually quite shocking.
It is.
So, all right, Joan, how many times have you been fired? Let's go ahead and ask her the awkward question.
It's not that awkward. I've been fired several times.
Atta girl.
I've been walked out the front door by the general manager of one radio station.
The walk of shame?
Yeah, the walk of shame.
And don't you love that too?
Take your box.
When you go to get your last check and they don't let you, like the minute you enter the building, they have someone to meet you.
Yeah.
To make sure you don't go anywhere else in the building.
Don't you touch that microphone.
Don't you get in there. We've got secrets here.
Yeah.
Now,
Radio is such an ugly business, honestly.
Now,
yes, it is.
I actually, in my last job, and I haven't talked about this in a while, but I have told this story before. I had a 3-year contract at my last employer, and it was literally sitting on my desk for like a month and a half. And I had an offer from this company, and I was trying to decide, like my brain had just malfunctioned because I didn't know what to do. Do I stay in Denver? Do I continue to be just a program director and like a fill-in talk show host? Or do I come here and take a massive cut in pay and be... No, I'm serious. There's a big cut in pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be a midday talk show host.
Yeah.
You can imagine my ex-wife's thrill when I said, honey, we're coming to Nashville and I'm going to make a lot less money. Oh, she was really happy about that.
I bet.
She was thrilled.
But I did. So when I walked in and I said, I've made my decision and I'm going to go to Nashville. And they said, okay, well, thanks for letting us know. And I thought I was going to be able to I had a couple of weekend shows scheduled, including an interview with the governor. And they came in. It took I said, I want to do my shows this weekend and I want to, finish my contract. They walked me out 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, they did. And which was kind of annoying because, it's kind of embarrassing in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Because, people think you got fired. And right. I didn't tell people my contract is coming up. And I didn't talk about all that. So, yeah, they walked me out. It's a walk of shame. And, it's always humiliating. But that's okay because I ended up in a far better place.
Yeah.
And
we're happy to have you here.
Yes, we are.
Well, 10 and a half years. It took me all that time before I finally got suspended without pay. I'm just kidding. It was pretty funny, though. I guess everybody, I don't know if, I think Brian, Brian wasn't here yesterday. So Matt actually got in on the joke as well.
Yeah.
But, the funny thing is that I don't know if I've ever been suspended either. Like I've for whatever reason, I feel like it probably, if you're going to be a really good talk show host, you really need to be suspended a few times.
You do?
Yeah, so I don't know.
I've been suspended. My gosh.
You've been fired and suspended? What did you do?
Wow,
what
you're
the
just
hell
a troublemaker
here.
Really?
Wow.
I mean, you have not lived until you've done those things in radio.
Wow.
Can we ask what you got fired and suspended for?
Let's see.
Joan's like, where do I start?
Yeah. I mean, it's just basic radio stuff. In Philadelphia,
Yes.
we had this. We had a great show that was really popular, but we wanted to do more with it, and the management did not. So we had a difference of opinion of where the show should go, and they kept the host. I was doing like this news and co-hosting, and they kept the host gave him a big fat raise, and kicked me out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
yeah.
That sucks.
That does stink.
But that's just it. That's radio.
Yes, it is.
You know?
Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah. No, there was reason.
Or
But I
that.
mean, honestly, it's a personality-based business, and personalities aren't always going to work well together.
Well, it's like when I went to work for a small station in this area between jobs. It was this small station in Franklin. And the woman that ran it, she was going to change formats. It was oldies, rock oldies.
Mm-hmm.
She decided she was going to mix country oldies with rock oldies.
Because that always works.
Oh, that works. So anyway, we were in a meeting, and I was at the point I wanted to get fired. So she goes, any comments? And I raised my hand. She goes, yes, John. I said, we have 2 phone lines going into the studio, correct? She goes, yes. I said, you could really save a lot of money by getting rid of one of them, because I think we're only going to need one.
Love it. You said that?
I said that.
Wow.
And then Thanksgiving came up, which was a few days later. While we're having Thanksgiving dinner, she fired me.
Wow.
Hey, happy holidays.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. You're done.
Those are the people, those are the managers that always say, listen, my door is always open.
Yes.
As long as you're saying the right thing,
They also
their
say
door is always open.
It's not personal, it's business.
Well, and I also heard she told a lot of them there, he's never going to work in radio again.
Oh. Well, wasn't she wrong?
Yes, she was.
Well, you know what? All I'll say is getting fired sucks. Getting suspended sucks too. For whatever reason, again, knock on wood, I've been lucky enough never really to have dealt with all of that. I mean, I've been unemployed. Johnny, what's the longest you've been unemployed? The longest I've actually been unemployed has been 3 weeks. Since I got into radio at the age of really 17 years old, when I got into radio, I've only spent 3 weeks unemployed in 35 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's really good.
Mine was about 2 months. It was about, and Phil Valentine came to town because I was actually looking for gigs outside of town, and one seemed promising in North Carolina. And then all of a sudden, Phil Valentine came into town, and I got a call saying he wanted me to work with him.
There you go.
So I got to stay in
Nashville. You
Nashville.
lucked out.
I did luck out.
But plus you and Phil had a magic.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that he wanted to come back and work with you again. And Joan, what's the longest you've been unemployed?
Well, I actually retired before I came here, so I had been unemployed for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that was by choice.
Yeah.
That was by choice.
Yeah. So before that, I guess it was like it was about 6 months that I could have gotten another job, but they were paying me to sit on the beach, so I sat on the beach.
Listen.
Yeah, see, that's what they did with me the 2 months. I had a good severance package, and
You sat on the beach, too?
I didn't have to. I didn't sit on the beach, but I sat in my apartment.
And that gave you plenty of time to, sit in the bathtub if you so chose.
Exactly, because I was going through a divorce at the same time, too. So.
Oh, that'll do it.
Oh, yeah. They both came on the same day. They had sold the station, and after I found out that the station was going to be no more, went home, and my wife at the time said, I want a divorce.
Now, did you tell her what came first? You telling her that you lost your job, and then she told you that she wanted a divorce, or you come home and you say, hi, honey. She says, I want a divorce. And you say, great, I just lost my job.
No, it was the other. It was the previous.
Okay, so
wow.
And she felt bad. I mean, in her,
She got like an entire gallon of salt and just poured it into that wound.
Yeah. Rub that right in.
Yeah.
Soon-to-be ex-wives are good at that. Moving right
But
along.
you're not bitter.
Not at all.
No. By the way, speaking of getting fired, somebody's going to get fired over at Mattel very quickly. So we all know The Wicked is coming out, right? Now, I actually am looking forward to seeing Wicked. I think it looks like a very cool movie. I've seen the play a couple of different times, whatever. But, Mattel has made these Wicked dolls. They're like action figures, dolls kind of a thing. Apparently, they have been forced to pull these lines of character dolls after a packaging misprint. Instead of listing the website for Universal's Wicked movie, it featured a link to a pornographic website for a group called Wicked Pictures.
Ooh.
And apparently Wicked Pictures, and Johnny, if you would like to confirm this for us, you can on a company computer. You go right on ahead.
No thanks.
I won't be doing that.
Now who's trying to get you fired?
Yeah.
But apparently Wicked Pictures is a pornographic website. So don't go there.
And don't go to Wicked Pictures.
They've actually taken those dolls off the shelves now.
Mm-hmm.
So no more of that packaging.
No, but here's the funny thing is that website has received more publicity than ever.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because of this particular story.
There you go.
Joni, you able to, because I know that right now, if I go to the super text line, which is open at 615-737-9986, are you able to separate, because I know Johnny and I have spoken about this many a times, are you able to separate Hollywood stupidity from going to see movies?
I'm not at all. I think Hollywood stars that are stupid, they get taken off my list.
Okay.
What about, in that case, have you heard of what Demi Moore
Not her.
recently said?
What did she recently say?
She was at a French premiere of a new body horror, that's horror, satire, The Substance. She claimed to the media that the U.S. is built on Puritans, religious fanatics, and criminals.
Puritans, religious fanatics, and criminals.
Yes, and she said that's what you're seeing in our election right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, the woman that, did you know, too, on movie sets, if she gets her feet dirty, like she's walking in sand or something barefoot, she has somebody hired that takes care of her feet.
How'd you like that gig?
No. No, thank you.
It's this is the kind of stuff like don't look me in the eye. Like,
yes.
What is wrong with these people? They put their pants on the same way you and I do.
It's like they feel like they're so enlightened. It's like, many of my fans, they like my movies, but they like me to enlighten them on things of lifestyle. No, we don't.
And that's why we don't respect you.
That's right.
By the way,
fact, we're going to start calling you Demi Moore.
Speaking of no respect, 0783, Dan strikes me as a people-pleasing yes man, which is probably why he's never been fired or suspended. Johnny and Joan both have spines, so it makes sense.
Wow.
They've ruffled feathers before.
Wow.
That's actually not true.
No, it is not.
I think the there's no difference, but it's just that I tend to do it my own way, which can be somewhat passive aggressively. And so I do it in a way where I can hopefully get what I want and at the same time not get fired or suspended.
A little under the radar, so to speak.
That's exactly right, Johnny. A little bit under the radar.
There you go. That's a smart man right there.
There is a reason, though, I'm no longer program director, but moving right along. 5:54 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have you guys heard this story? Just very quickly. Have you heard the story of Tennessee police and law enforcement? They have charged 600 people with drunk driving who were actually sober.
Yes.
Wow.
So coming up at 6:35-ish, we're going to speak with Kathy Henners, of course, our top cop here on Nashville's Morning News. It's been a minute for Kathy, so I'm looking forward to having her back on.
Yes, indeed.
We're going to talk about that story and a whole lot more straight ahead. Right now, 5:53, and Joan Jones is doing the news at 6. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, we've got the fresh picks for the new Trump administration. We'll tell you who's being tapped to serve. Also, why you can't get to Haiti right now, even if you did want to. Those stories coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist. And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. he can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck.
Another straight up 6 o'clock here, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're sitting at 50 degrees right now. Pretty chilly this morning. We're only going to 65. Got that full forecast and traffic coming up. Well, we're learning more about President Trump's picks for his new administration. And new this morning, President-elect Donald Trump has tapped South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to fill the role of Homeland Security Secretary. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is over Customs, Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Secret Service, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Now, if selected, Noem would work with Tom Homan, who was announced as Trump's border czar on Sunday, and Stephen Miller, who was announced as the White House Deputy of Staff for Policy on Monday as well. There is another push to end Tennessee's taxes on food.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell says his team's looking into what it would cost to get rid of the grocery tax in Davidson County. It says they'll be looking at a number of things as they approach the fiscal year 26 budget. That's when Metro will have a new finance director. They want to evaluate things, knowing that this is an appraisal year. Nashville Democrat State Rep Afton Ben filed a bill earlier this year to replace grocery taxes with a business tax, but it didn't make it. Well, she's filed another one this fall. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The city of Clarksville will have 16 liquor stores in the new year, but a new ordinance says it can have up to 27. But Councilman Travis Holloman tells News 2 adding liquor stores is not really a great idea.
I mean, you can buy booze and dope in gas stations. We got these smoke shops on every single corner, and then on top of that, the city of Clarksville is going to say we're going to go from 16 to 27 liquor stores. Like, I feel like that's not responsible to our society.
The new ordinance says liquor stores must be at least 500 feet away from schools, parks, or religious institutions. All flights to and from Haiti are on hold right now after a Spirit Airlines flight out of Florida was struck by gunfire while making a landing in Port-au-Prince. Nobody was injured, fortunately. Gangs are reportedly trying to block travel to and from the city. Meantime, the holidays are shaping up to be very busy for air travel in the U.S. this year.
This year, Thanksgiving travel is expected to set records. The industry expecting 36.5 million airline seats to be scheduled, a nearly 5% increase over last year. The worst day for travel, Sunday, December 1st, when travelers return home. As for departing, consider leaving the Monday before Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving Day itself to save time and money.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Got an accident in the Gulch. It's at 13th Avenue North at George L. Davis Boulevard at Grundy Street. That one reported by police. So also another accident reported on I-40 westbound at Charlotte Avenue. That's exit 209. And the road work has been cleared from I-40, the exit to 210B. That exit ramp, all the work there has been picked up. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled.
Opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
6:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. I love this headline just very quickly. Melania Trump is expected to skip the White House meeting with Jill Biden, Joe Biden, of course, as well. And apparently Jill invited the Trumps to tea and Melania to tea. And Melania said, no, thanks. And that doesn't surprise me, actually, about Melania. Because we all know that Jill Biden and Joe Biden, they've been saying horrendous things about Donald Trump. So why should Melania, and this is what I like, is that Melania is at least being honest, which is more than we can say about the Democrats. One of the things that I thought was interesting, and I was gone over the past couple of days, was that Charlemagne actually came out. I refuse to call him Charlemagne the God because he's not. But Charlemagne actually came out and called out the Democrats like all of us have been. But he actually came out and called out the Democrats. And he said, did they actually believe when they were calling him a fascist and when they were calling Trump supporters Nazis, did the Democrats really believe all of that? Charlemagne said that. Now, for me, we did, this is a couple of days ago that we were all talking about this. Wait a minute. If Trump is actually Hitler, then shouldn't they be placing tanks in front of the White House? Because you don't want Hitler in charge of the U.S. government. So Charlemagne obviously is calling out the Democrats. Now, my question is, did Charlemagne really believe that? Because he was all in on all of that. And so my question back to Charlemagne would be, well, Charlemagne, are you saying that the Democrats should be putting tanks in front of the White House? Should the Democrats be using the military to keep Donald Trump out of the White House? Because Charlemagne himself has been saying that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Because Trump has been basically accused of the same thing. So now can we turn around and say to Charlemagne, since Charlemagne is basically, it seems to me, calling out the Democrats, saying that they are allowing Hitler into the White House, and Charlemagne, it seems to me, is saying that the Democrats should not be allowing Hitler back into the White House, then does that mean that Charlemagne himself is a threat to democracy because he's not respecting the results of an election? Inquiring minds want to know. And so at the very least, Melania Trump, she is at least being honest and saying, no, I'm not going to sit down with Jill Biden and Joe Biden. I'm not going to sit down with the family that has been calling my family a bunch of Nazis and Adolf Hitler. Now, Trump's got to do what he's got to do, right? Trump, he's got to go in. He's got to have the meeting with Joe Biden. But you know what? Melania Trump, she can tell Jill Biden to stick it where the sun don't shine, and I love it. Because she's being honest. And Jill Biden inviting Melania to tea. Are you flipping kidding me? She is absolutely right to say thanks, but no thanks. By the way, this is great. Morale over at ICE is off the charts. They're saying that morale over at ICE, it is up a lot because of Tom Homan and because of Donald Trump. Arizona Border Patrol agent ecstatic to go to see that the morale is now even higher than the first time Donald Trump won. Another ICE officer, morale is super high, especially with the Tom Homan news as well. Now, you know why that is. It's because Tom Homan is going to allow them to do their job. Everybody knows, and we've been talking about this for the last 4 years here on WTN and Nashville's Morning News, where Tom Homan, who is the new border czar, he's been saying all along that ICE needs to be allowed to do their jobs.
President Trump has made it clear. We will prioritize public safety threats and national security threats first. And that's what the focus will be. And there's over 1.5 convicted criminal aliens in this country with final orders removal that we're going to be looking for. There's thousands of gang members, illegal alien gang members we're going to be looking for. Now, I'm going to say, if you're in the country illegally, You shouldn't feel comfortable. Absolutely not. I won't feel comfortable if I'm in a country illegally. If I'm in some other country illegally, I'm not going to be comfortable. Yep. You shouldn't be comfortable either, because when you enter this country illegally, you have committed a crime. You are a criminal, and you're not off the table.
So that's the whole point. And remember that messaging is really, really important. Because when Trump was elected in 2016, he was elected on build that wall, right? He was built on a lot less illegal immigration, trying to cut it off completely. Build the wall, no illegal immigration. Let's step up our legal immigration and quite frankly, fix our legal immigration problems that we have here in this country. But when Trump was elected, what did we see? We saw a lot of that illegal immigration go down because of the messaging. Trump basically said, you are not welcome. And so you had all the people on the left, oh, no, he's such a racist, he can't say that. Well, he did say that. And he followed through with policies that discouraged illegal immigration and encouraged legal immigration. And Trump is out there now saying, and over the last couple of days, one of the things that he says is, I'm going to re-implement, among many other things, the Remain in Mexico policy, and he's going to start construction of the wall again. Two very big things. Those were mandates that the American people voted on. And you can't say that this was not a mandate. I mean, in the first hour, and everybody's been talking about the sheer magnitude, the numbers that Donald Trump has in this election. Not to mention the news of the day, we now have control, a very slim majority in the House of Representatives. And of course, as you know, we have the majority in the Senate and obviously the White House. And so this president is going to be able to do great things. And the reason why is because the American people have spoken. And having Tom Homan as the border czar, I think is a great, great decision. And the reason why it's such a great decision is for a number of different reasons. Number one is because Homan is not afraid. He's not afraid of the left. He's not afraid of the media. He's certainly not afraid of the Democrats. And he was on with Sean Hannity last night, and he was talking about a reinvigorated ICE.
Look, ICE is very good at what they do. We have a targeting system. I can't really talk about it on the air because it's law enforcement sensitive, but we're going to find them. And look, we're going to go get them. I saw today numerous governors from sanctuary states saying they're going to step in the way. They better get the hell out of the way. Either you help us or get the hell out of the way, because ICE is going to do their job. We're going to take the handcuffs off ICE that the Biden administration put on them and let ICE what they do best. And let me say this. Back to the viewer, Joe Biden. They promised, this administration promised, they're going to concentrate on the criminal aliens. That was a priority. Secretary Mayorkas said that. I looked at the stats today. The removal of criminal aliens is down 74% from President Trump. We have more criminals here than we ever had. So we got plenty of targets out there, and the men and women of this new administration are going to go look for them. They're going to look for them in sanctuary cities. If sanctuary cities don't want to help, get out of the way. I'll double the workforce in that sanctuary city. We're going to do our job. Despite the politics, we're doing it. So get used to it, because we're coming.
Why, yes, I do love the fact that Tom Homan is our new border czar. Got a couple of more audio bites from Tom Homan. And also, you know, every day we see these horrific stories of illegal aliens in the news, and there's always another one. And I've got to tell you that, and I said this during the election night coverage, when Donald Trump wins and when they actually start the deportation process, you just wait for the hue and cry of the left. Oh, they're separating families and all of these other things. Don't forget, the media is going to try to pull at the heartstrings of America by saying that Donald Trump is being cruel by deporting all of these, and I'm air quoting here, all of these families. Make no mistake, that may eventually happen. But first, they're focusing on the criminal gangbangers and those people that are in this country illegally that are committing violent crimes against Americans. And here's the deal. Oftentimes, when we hear of these wretched, horrible stories of kids getting, raped and women getting murdered and so forth by these illegal aliens, oftentimes they've already committed other crimes in this country and been allowed to skate. And so they become emboldened to commit other more heinous crimes because they were able to get away with it before. That's what we need to stop. It is 6:16. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather today, partly cloudy and a high of 65 right now, 49 at Super Talk 99.7 at WTN. Playing some audio from Tom Homan. I think that what we're seeing is, and we've also got word today, Stephen Miller this morning here in the last, I don't know when this news came out, maybe it was yesterday, but Stephen Miller, another illegal immigration hawk. He is also going to be part of the Trump administration, the incoming Trump administration. He will be chief of staff. I think they're calling this chief of staff of policy. But the point is that Trump, between Tom Homan and Stephen Miller, he's making a point. He's telegraphing the direction that his administration is going to go in, and that is really a zero tolerance policy on illegal immigration, no tolerance policy on illegal immigration. I guess you have zero tolerance policy. I love that. You got to shut down the border. And also, one of the things that Homan said is that if people want to self-deport, well, they can most certainly do that.
Criminals and gang members get no grace period. But while we're out prioritizing the public safety threats and national security threats, if you want to self-deport, you should self-deport. Because, again, we know who you are, and we're going to come and find you. So if you want to self-deport, that's fine. But criminals and gang members, they get no favors from this administration. You came to this country illegally, which is a crime. You committed crimes against the United States citizens, some heinous crimes. You get no grace period, so we're coming for you. But for those others, the non-criminals, if you want to self-deport, I'm all for it. Because when they self-report, they can put their orders, put everything in order, their family business, if they got homes or whatever, they can put all that in order and leave with their family altogether. It makes perfect sense.
I mean, it does make perfect sense. And, one of the things that I've noticed, and I know that Chris was playing the interaction between AOC and Tom Homan. He was playing that yesterday. Great audio bite. I like, there's a number of audio bites that are out there. And this is what I love, is that I noticed on Twitter this morning, on X this morning, where people have said this, and they're making it seem like it's a bad thing. This is the guy that Donald Trump is putting in charge of the southern border. And it's this audio bite, this video of Tom Homan. He's testifying in front of Congress. I don't know what exactly the occasion was, but I love this.
Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
And that was Pramila Jayapal. Of course, she's one of the extreme wokeists on the left. And this moment from 60 Minutes with Tom Homan.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
See you later. Listen, I know that it sounds heartless. And this is what we as a nation and we as conservatives, we're going to have to face. But when you had such a resounding victory that Donald Trump had, and immigration, I mean, there's no one that can deny the importance of immigration and illegal immigration in this last election. And so this is an administration, an incoming administration that needs to do what they need to do to make sure that the American people and their wishes are executed to the fullest extent. And you do that by bringing in a guy like Tom Homan to be the border czar, and also a guy like Stephen Miller, who was involved in Trump's first term in office. You know that he was somebody who very involved in policy, very involved in the building of the wall and, of course, the Remain in Mexico policy and so forth. Well, he's back.
You read one of these heartbreaking headlines. Who's going to stand up for our daughters? Who's going to stand up for the girls of America, the women of America, the families of America? Who's going to stand up and say the cartels are gone, the criminal migrants are gone, the gangs are gone, America is for Americans and Americans only?
Yeah, that is Stephen Miller, and he was getting big-time applause out there in Madison Square Garden. One of the headlines out there is that Miller is a white nationalist. They're calling him a white nationalist. I got to tell you, I could sit here all day, every day for the rest of, my show today and this week and next week and the week after. And I could just sit here and I could talk about the hyperventilation, the hand-wringing, the name-calling of the left as Donald Trump continues to fill out his cabinet. I'm not going to do that. Can we all just come to the agreement that the teeth gnashing, the hyperventilating, all of that stuff is going on, but in the interest of moving forward and in the interest of talking about what is next for the American people, I'm focused and going to focus on what is happening moving forward as opposed to constantly looking backward and allowing the insanity of the left to spin my wheels as a talk show host. I don't need to continue to talk about them. I think that we all know that good part of the media and Hollywood and these people on the left who they don't understand what the hell just happened. You know what? They could just deal with it. Because as a nation and as a party and quite frankly as a talk show host, I'm moving on. I'm not going to just sit in the mud with all of them as they continue to cry and all that kind of stuff. No, we've got a country to fix, and that's what I'm going to focus on. It is 6:24, focusing on the news at 6:30 with Joan Jones. And Joan, what is coming up?
Well, what will happen to the FBI now that the new administration is being set? There is a hint about that this morning. We'll also take a look at how the news networks are faring now that the election is over. Those stories, don't you snicker, coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
One of my favorite stories. How is the media faring with all of this? Love it. Thank you, Joan. Looking forward to that at 6:30 on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here, and now is the time to call my friends at Cove Generators. They are offering you, listen to this huge deal. This is massive. I think this is the best deal they've had yet. They're offering you a free 10-year warranty. That is a value of well over $1,000. So if you've ever wanted one of those backup home standby generators, now is the time to do it with my friends at Cove Generators. Plus, they also have great financing options as well. Now, they are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer here in the state of Tennessee. So be prepared for the next power outage and call Cove Generators and never lose power again. 931-559-3311, 931-559-3311. They can also service your Generac automatic standby generator or any brand of generator that you own. Call them 931-559-3311, covegenerators.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Good morning, 6:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with the latest news. We've got your forecast and traffic coming up in just about 5 minutes. As President-elect Trump continues setting up his administration, we have learned this morning that FBI Director Christopher Wray is preparing to be replaced. He is expected to tender his resignation if Trump signals that he would want to replace Wray. NBC News reports that one person under consideration for Wray's job is Trump advisor Kash Patel, who's also being considered to lead the CIA. One big issue that's facing airlines and the FAA right now is the shortage of air traffic controllers. Staffing concerns in one city got the attention of a member of Congress following long delays over the past weekend. The problem could be about to get worse.
With the busiest travel week of the year fast approaching, officials are sounding the alarm about staffing at airports. In Austin, Texas, Sunday, major wait times and delays. A local congressman says that's because there were supposed to be 13 air traffic controllers on duty, and the airport had only 8. By the holiday season, he warns controller staffing could be down to half what it should be.
That's ABC's Andrew Dimbert reporting. Also, it looks like Donald Trump is breaking the media once again. According to Nielsen data, ever since election night, viewership at MSNBC and CNN has plummeted. On Thursday, that's 2 days after the election, MSNBC garnered only 596,000 viewers. At CNN, that was 419,000. By comparison, Fox News on Thursday, viewership there was 2.6 million. Up by more than 60% over last year. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 6:32. By the way, Kathy Hitters is coming up next. Dan Mandis here for Zero Res. Eternally grateful to these folks because they keep my carpets insanely clean and safe for Riker and now my grandson as well. Listen, dirty carpets equals sickness. Your carpet is the #1 air filter in your home, so keep it clean with my carpet cleaning company, the Zero Res way, Zero Res. Now, you know the Zero Res difference means powered water. That means no soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals. That means pure safety for your family and pets, and your carpet's going to dry twice as fast. So get your home holiday ready with Zero Res. Now, they do have the highest approval ratings from the Carpet and Rug Institute. They've got thousands of positive Facebook and Google reviews, and a big thumbs up from my house. A great deal going on right now, by the way. Headed into the holidays, 3 rooms for $129, and you get a free hallway as well. That's 3 rooms for $129, a free hallway thrown in. Plus, use promo code FRESH100 to get $100 off of air duct cleaning as well. Restrictions apply. 1-800-0-RES. That's 1-800-0-RES. You can always find them online, zeroresnashville.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Got an accident in the Gulch. This one is at George L. Davis Boulevard at Grundy Street. And also want to let you know that the work on I-40, the exit to 210B, that's all cleared. So you've got both lanes heading onto that exit ramp. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This is the headline. Sober people are being arrested for drunk driving, and violence in Nashville continues to be an issue as well. There's a lot going on. I want to speak with our top cop, Kathy Hinters. Kathy, it's been a minute. Always great to have you on the radio program. You remain one of my all-time favorite guests, going way back to when I was on in middays. I think you were actually one of my first guests that I ever had on the program, and so I'm glad to have you back. So I want to talk about this, and the reason why this really strikes a personal tone with me, the folks being arrested for drunk driving when they're actually sober, is that it happened to a friend of mine, and I'm not going to say her name, but she was going through a divorce, and she was trying to find a job, and she got into a car accident. And the officer on scene charged her for drunk driving, even though eventually her blood work came back and she was sober as anything. But he used as justification, I guess, this roadside sobriety test, and he decided that she was drunk. And so she ultimately, as she's going through this divorce and a custody battle, didn't look good there, and she wasn't able to find, she was about to get a job in a position where she would be driving, and that job fell through, of course, with the accusation that she had been drunk driving. And so Channel 4 has done now this story, and that is the headline, that you've got all of these folks that are being charged for drunk driving when they're sober. This is part of what they wrote, Channel 4. From Clarksville to Murfreesboro, from Franklin to Goodlettsville, they say we found sober drivers charged with DUI, and because of a backlog in alcohol and toxicology tests at the TBI, these innocent people are forced to wait months for proof of their innocence. In the months that followed their DUI arrests, their lives crumbled. Now, I'm here to tell you, Kathy, I can't do it, but if I open up the phone lines right now, they would go off the charts with people that this has happened to. You saw this headline like I did. I mean, what in the world is going on? Is this a failure in policy? Is this a failure in, equipment? Or is this just a problem within the department?
I think it's a little bit of everything. But I wanted to cover just some pros and cons, for both sides.
Yep.
So, more on the pro-police side, there has to be a reason for them to stop the vehicle. What led to the probable cause for them pulling them over? What did the driver do? Did they swerve? Did they go over the line? Did they not have, the headlights on during the dark? Did they run a stop sign or stop for a stop sign that's not there? So, that starts with the probable cause. Then the officers have been asked to perform, many of them, in this case, have been asked to perform the blood alcohol content test rather than the field sobriety test. A lot of people cannot do the field sobriety test because they might have a physical injury, they might have a deformity. There's a lot of reasons why people can't do those tests. And so a lot of times they'll fail because they're not focused enough on the test itself, but rather they're stressed, extremely stressed. So that's something.
Well, I will note, if I may, Kathy, I will also note that in a couple of the cases, first of all, my personal case where I know somebody, she flipped her car. She was in an accident. She'd flipped her car, and they're asking her to stand on one leg and tell the alphabet backwards. I mean, I'm sober, and I can't say the alphabet backwards.
Right. Most of us can't, And so those standardized field tests, there's three different ones. There's the horizontal gaze, the one-leg stand, and then a walk and turn. Each one of those is very hard, even sober, to pass. And so, that's something specific to that case that's going to be a problem. Yeah. And a lot of these officers are going to have problems. But if they refused to give someone the BAC test, it's probably because they aren't certified. They're trained to do the field sobriety test, but they have to be certified to do the blood alcohol content test. There's a big difference. The BAC certification is a lot more intense. They usually have to, be able to calibrate the equipment and know how to do that. It's usually a state standard. Mm-hmm. So that may have been a reason why if they're refusing the BAC test. There's also a huge liability issue. Once they've stopped you for suspicious driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, they're going to arrest you, because if they were to let you go and you got into an accident and worse killed someone, the liability is going to come back on that officer. So they're going to continue the paperwork, and they're also going to bring you in, and you will be arrested. That's the unfortunate part, because the tests are taking months, and like you said, people's lives are being destroyed. You know, people's jobs are being lost, families are being destroyed. So there's a lot of pressure here on police right now to be doing it right. And I'll say there's a lot of officers that just do things willy-nilly. They're not following really what they should be following for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. And Kathy, here's the, everybody knows I have been a huge supporter of the police for years. And so to me, if this is an issue, then I want it to get fixed, because I'm not a blind supporter. If there's things that are going on that need to be fixed, I don't want all cops to be tarnished by the actions of a few, or by faulty equipment or faulty policy. What about a breathalyzer? I mean, I understand that the blood test, but what about a breathalyzer? Are those real accurate?
They can be, but they have to be calibrated. Those are the machines, that's the equipment that would be back in their precinct. And that's when the suspect is brought back to the precinct, they will be asked to do that. And there's a big time frame. I mean, the subjects have to be watched for a certain period of time before they can conduct the test. They have to make sure they don't have anything in their mouth, no gum, no lifesavers, anything like that. So there's a lot to it. But that equipment has to be calibrated, whether it's a state TBI guy that comes in on a monthly basis or somebody that's trained within the agency. So some of the cons, though, what I'm learning, and I'm the same way with police. I mean, having been in law enforcement for over 20 years, I am pro-police, but I also can recognize when there's issues, and this is an issue. But I'm learning from a source that now police are receiving training on what's called driving while drowsy. And I think that's very dangerous, because they're equating being drowsy as bad as being drunk or under the influence of drugs, which, you can agree with or not agree with, but there's no
I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I mean, I understand that, you maybe the impact is still the same. You're drowsy, so you're falling asleep. But people know getting behind the wheel of a car drunk that is something that can, obviously, as everyone knows, lead to some very fatal consequences. Getting behind the wheel of a car and you suddenly become drowsy, but you don't always really know it. I mean, I've done that. We all have experienced that. So
absolutely.
Kathy, Kathy, hold on one second. I got to check traffic. Then I want to touch base with you on one other story straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads. Partly cloudy today and a high of 65. Our top cop, Kathy Henners, is joining us on Super Talk 99.7. I should have mentioned in the open, Kathy, of course, new people are coming in all the time, but you spent, I forgot to introduce you properly. I figure everybody knows, but Kathy Henners spent over 20 years in law enforcement in the state of New York, moved here to Tennessee, of course, way back when, and you've been on with me and others for many, many years. So let me ask you, just as we wrap up this part in 30 seconds or less, number one, let's obviously admit that 600 people arrested for drunk driving when they were sober. That is a minuscule amount of people when you look at the amount of people that law enforcement deal with on an annual basis. So that's number one. We all recognize that this is a very small amount, but tell that to the people whose lives are ruined, frankly, until their names are cleared. But what's the answer to this? Like, again, in 30 seconds or less, I have another story I want to get to, but how do we fix this problem?
The training for the police officers has to be better and more up to date, and there has to be more responsibility for and accountability for these people that are being arrested, whether it's a fact that the paperwork was not done correctly, or the test was not performed correctly, or they weren't certified correctly. So it does come back to policy issue. And so, or officer, whether it's a lax officer, not paying attention to what he's doing. But yeah, and just so you know, I believe it's WSMV did ask the TBI to give them a list of the agencies that have conducted these arrests. And so hopefully the TBI will release that information so people can look a little bit more into who's doing this and what the problem is within that agency.
All right, in other news, I saw a story the other day. It was when I was on vacation. But there's one of these community meetings, and these community meetings drive me nuts. But in a city of millions, you have a community meeting where it looked like maybe 100 people show up, a very low turnout. It's in a high school gym. But this community meeting was all about violence in the city of Nashville. You've got these air quote community leaders that are out there trying to tell folks, we've got to handle the violence and all of these other things. And they start talking about these violence interrupters, which are people in organizations like Gideon's Army that go out into the community and try to engage with these guys who are prone to violence or at risk, theoretically, of being engaged in violence. And so one of the things that I will say, and I've been covering this a long time, is they always seem to have these meetings with their preachers and the community leaders and all this other stuff. Nobody ever talks about a lack of fathers in the home. That's number one. And number two, they always try to bring it back, of course, to gun violence and gun control. And I think that until you handle the father issue and you handle the gang problem in our town, then all the rest of this is just talk.
Absolutely. And it's encouraging that they're doing it. But when you have, and we've talked about Gideon's Army before, they are not the people to be going out into the community to do this.
No.
But it's really important that they separate the issues, and they don't. There's the elephant in the room, and that is the fatherless. In this communities, the fatherless amount of children is astounding. I think I've read where 516,000 children in the state of Tennessee live in a single parent home. So there is a problem. You do need a father in the home for stability and other reasons. But what's interesting is a lot of these meetings are being hijacked by activists. Now, you can be an advocate, but the activists are the one bringing up gun control. Gun control is ridiculous. It's never going to happen. If you look at the word backwards, control gun, who controls guns? It's the criminals. And so, when you start looking at statistics, and according to a statistic on the Metro Police site, as of October 8th, 702 guns have been stolen from vehicles. The number now is over 965. So who's stealing those guns but criminals? So we have a crime problem. Let's work on crime control and violence control rather than something like gun control. That's never going to happen. But, some of the leaders, they are talking about bringing back God into, children's lives, which is another thing that is needed, that's been removed from everywhere.
Absolutely.
So, so there's a lot of things that, they're like elephants in the room. If they're offensive to people, we're not going to talk about it. And they're never going to be able to solve violence until you get those two things straight. So, it's really sad, though, when you look at the violence that's occurring within these communities. And there are blips on the news. You'll have several people shot across the state or across the country. We're talking hundreds of people killed every day.
Yep.
And yet then it turns to gun control. The sad part is when a police officer shoots someone, it isn't about gun control. It's about the actual police officer. Has he disciplined everything? It's just, and then there's riots, and we don't see that when there's just massive amounts of killings within communities. And so priorities are kind of messed up, but the expectations of, the gun control and just being able to fix it by getting together is, not much. It's kind of like zero if they don't have the right tools to go into these meetings.
Well,
and then universal background checks are only as effective as the person's, the truth being told on these applications.
Well, and the thing is, for me, Kathy, as we wrap this up, for me, I think we do need more police. We do need tough on crime laws and policies. if there are misdemeanor crimes out there, they need to be charged and they need to face consequences, even for misdemeanors. Because when, in my opinion, they commit misdemeanors, they get caught, and the longer that they are allowed to get away with this stuff, the more they escalate in their crimes. And we see that time and time and time again. I'm not saying that we need to be draconian, but there does need to be some consequences when laws are broken. Real quickly, Kathy, give me your website, give folks your website, and if you're on Twitter, where can people follow you on Twitter?
I am on X. I am at dailyrollcall.com. My website is dailyrollcall.com, and I can be reached on Facebook just under Kathy Hinners. And I appreciate, coming back on. We've got a lot to talk about, in the future here. There's a lot of things happening in the city of Nashville as well as the state of Tennessee. Just a teaser, I guess we've got some immigration problems.
Oh, we sure do.
We'll be looking at some lawsuits that are being put out there by our attorney general in this state. And so there's some interesting things that I think we're going to be able to work on. Maybe in the future we'll be talking about.
All right, Kathy, as always, thank you very much for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7 in Nashville's Morning News. It is 6:54, and Joan Jones has the news coming up at 7.
Well, some familiar names are showing up on President Trump's administration wish list. Also, Melania Trump snubs Jill Biden. We'll tell you how she did that. Those stories coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I think Melania is going to do a song parody. It's going to be Take Your Tea and Shove It.
No.
Kind of like a...
She's just not that way.
No, but I love
She's
what
very
she
kind.
did.
Yes.
I love what she did. Details with Joan coming up. In the news at 7, Dan Mandis here for my window company, Window Nation. Now, they put new windows in my basement studio, my kitchen, and my bedroom. I love my windows. I love Window Nation. Why? Because they're helping to save my listeners a lot of money in the short term and the long term as well. You want new windows? They are offering you a huge deal right now at Window Nation. 50% off all their window styles, including double hung, bays, picture windows, and every other window imaginable. You pay nothing until 2025 and get 0% interest for 5 years. Now, these folks at Window Nation, they truly are experts in their field, and their installation teams have over 10 years of install experience. Now, remember that great deal. Mention my name, any window, 50% off, and you pay nothing until 2025 and pay no interest for 5 full years. Call them 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
Good morning. We are at 7 o'clock now, 7:02 actually, and it's 50 degrees. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. President-elect Trump is wasting no time as he works to fill his new cabinet.
President-elect Trump's new administration is taking shape, with Trump moving faster than he did in 2016 to fill key positions. Sources say he's expected to nominate Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who currently sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, to become Secretary of State. The two were bitter rivals during the 2016 campaign.
That's ABC's Christiane Cordero. Rubio is widely known as a foreign policy hawk. The Wall Street Journal is also reporting that Mr. Trump tapped Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida to be his national security advisor. Waltz is a Green Beret veteran. And he selected South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to replace Alejandro Mayorkas as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Local news, 2 people have been arrested for the ambush and murder of 20-year-old Javier Johnson in August.
Police say Johnson was communicating with a woman on Instagram and was lured to a home in Donaldson, where she took him behind the home. That's when a man came running up and shot him several times. The suspects then emptied Johnson's pockets. Fast forward to Halloween, when criminal homicide warrants were issued for 20-year-old Markeisha Keel and 18-year-old Jeremiah Henderson. The very 2 people Clarksville police say were involved in a domestic violence call they investigated Sunday night. Both were arrested. Keel is being held without bond in the Metro Jail pending a hearing. A fugitive hold was placed on Henderson in Montgomery County. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
President Trump is preparing for a visit to the White House tomorrow at the invitation of President Biden, but he won't have his First Lady in tow. Multiple media outlets report that Melania Trump will skip the traditional tea with First Lady Jill Biden. She reportedly has a scheduling conflict related to her new memoir. Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
The rally that started last week continued Monday with the Dow Jones rising 300 points to close at 44,293. The S&P and NASDAQ composite each rose a fraction. All 3 set new record highs. Chipotle shareholders claim the company failed to come clean about customer complaints over portion sizes. The cost to repair the fast casual chain's public image hurt profit margins and cut Chipotle's stock price. American Airlines, Spirit Airlines, and now JetBlue say they all are canceling service to Haiti. Armed gangs in Haiti's capital of Port-au-Prince have shot at aircraft in recent weeks as the security situation deteriorates.
Stock futures this morning are flat ahead of the opening bell. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, let's see. 24, the westbound lanes at Hickory Hollow Parkway. That's exit 60. The crash there is blocking the left shoulder. Then on 40 westbound before Stewart's Ferry Pike, that's exit 219, got a crash with 2 lanes blocked. The left 2 lanes are blocked there, so stay in those right lanes. You want to get around it. 40 westbound at Hermitage Avenue, that's another crash there, and the right lane is blocked at exit 212. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
7:08, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. It's great to be back from my unpaid suspension. Hope you're doing well. EJ Host is with us. And EJ, always great to have you on.
Good morning.
EJ, I want to play some audio for you. I guess this is a trend on TikTok and all of these other, places. I'm not going to call them numbskull places because there's some good stuff that happens on TikTok as well. But I thought this was funny. My buddy, another friend, Aaron, sent this to me. It's part of a montage of women who are supposedly talking about poisoning their Trump-loving husbands. And this is part of what that montage is.
Speaking to me is a privilege. You do not have privileges.
That's so stupid. Are there really women out there talking? I know that there's some sort of a sex strike thing going on. To be perfectly honest, I don't know how much of this is real and how much of this is just internet stupidity. I mean, you're more connected on this stuff than I am. Are women really are they really going on a sex strike?
So they're saying they are now, but I give it about, 3 months.
Yeah.
I will say I know some young people, some women in their early 20s who are pretty thrilled about this that's happening on the left because they feel like it's weeding out the dating pool. It's giving good conservative men like where they need to look for good women, right? So those women who are currently unmarried or unattached and looking for good conservative men, it's going to be easier for them to be spotted. There's women who are shaving their heads. They're wearing blue bracelets or getting blue heart tattoos so that they can identify each other. And I just think it's kind of hilarious. 6 months from now, when their hair is kind of growing back, they're still going to be identified as the weirdo who couldn't get over, an election loss, which is sad, but they've done it to themselves. So I don't have a ton of sympathy for that.
No, I mean, I love what Bill Maher said.
My message to the losers: look in the mirror. No? Well, maybe you should. Sorry. Well, that's my feeling. Losers look in the mirror. Okay.
He's absolutely right. Bill Maher making all the sense in the world. It does seem like the world of liberals and liberalism, there's two definitely divided camps, right? The ones that can't get over it and the ones that are looking at themselves in the mirror and they're thinking, where did we go wrong and where can we rebuild? Now, on to the future with Donald Trump. I got to tell you, EJ, I am thrilled with Tom Homan as border czar, and you're online like I am, and this is the audio bite that I've gravitated towards. Tom Homan versus Camilla Jayapal.
Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair,
Mr. Homan,
you work for me. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
Yeah, it's Camilla Jayapal who got really angry at Tom Homan. I love it, and I think that him being the border czar makes a lot of sense.
Sure, I agree. And, I like how he is no nonsense, very stoic man, whatever. But if you listen to that, you really feel and hear the arrogance. Senators, congressmen, they all kind of have a shelf life, and there's very few that get to DC and remain humble, right, and retain their humility. They really feel as though, they are the ruling class. And I think that was displayed there, and he handled it beautifully. Not the only time he's done that either. So really good to see that pick. I like it a lot. I think he will get a lot done and is a no nonsense kind of guy. So I'm thrilled with that pick.
Yeah, and the Twitter is replete with Tom Homan audio bites. And again, I love it. I was speaking earlier, EJ Host, about how we've got CNN on in the studio, and they keep, and other members of the media keep focusing on this word loyalists. Donald Trump is putting in loyalists into his administration. And to me, that seems to be sort of a negative connotation. And I don't know why I'm focused on this, but it does make it seem like Donald Trump is acting as a quote unquote dictator.
Sure. And that's their trick, right? That's what they're hoping is going to be the case. They're going to keep this narrative going for a while. You know, you just mentioned that there's two camps. There's the people who are struggling to get over it. There's the others that are being introspective. I think there's a third camp, and that is the always fighting, right? Their fight is always on. And behind the scenes, they're probably still kind of working to see how they can thwart the Trump presidency, how they can damage him as a person, how they can destroy the MAGA movement. I don't think those people have gone away. I just think they're a little quiet right now, which kind of makes me nervous. But I think CNN using the term loyalists like this so often, and I've actually heard that in a few other circles and from other media types as well. I think you're right. I think that's probably part of their, it doesn't even have to be this massive devised plan. They just all seem to work in step, whether they talk to each other or not. And that'll be a term that they'll use to put him down and to kind of hurt the MAGA movement.
7:15, Nashville's Morning News. EJ Host is joining us. EJ, coming up, going to talk about Marco Rubio, possibly Secretary of State. Kristi Noem, word is she is going to be the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. Elise Stefanik to be UN Ambassador. And also the battle for leadership of the Senate. All that and a whole lot more with EJ Host. Time to check the roads on WTN. Partly cloudy today, a high of 65 right now, 49. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. All right, EJ, let's go through some of this. Shocking, and I know this is kind of in the weeds, but because some people care about political appointments, other people don't. I happen to think these are fascinating. And Marco Rubio, possibly for Secretary of State, our own Senator Bill Hagerty, who's going to join me at 8:06. He has also been rumored to be up for that gig of Secretary of State. But word is Marco Rubio has the edge. How this relationship has evolved over the years is pretty stunning, as a matter of fact. Your thoughts on Marco Rubio?
Yeah, I think we're getting a little ahead of our skis here with some of these appointment rumors. I saw someone rather close to the Trump circle post on X last night saying, be careful with what your predictions might be, because nothing is official until he's posted it on X, or excuse me, on Truth. And I'm following Truth pretty carefully. The last appointments that he made were Lee Zeldin for EPA. And like you mentioned, Elise Stefanik, that was about 16 hours ago. So the rumors about Rubio and Kristi Noem, they came out yesterday at some point. It started gaining steam by last evening. CNN was making some assumptions about that and kind of rumoring that to a higher level. I don't know that Rubio needs a space in the cabinet or at that high up within the administration. There's a few reasons for that, not the least of which is that we need every senator that we've got. And right now he's a senator who is doing good things. And he seems to be making good votes and is on the Trump side right now. He's not always been on Trump's side. And he actually worked pretty heavily opposed to Trump, not just while they were running, but in other situations. So I would rather see him stay a senator right now. Let's just kind of see where that plays out and find someone that is a little more bullish, a little less elitist, a GOP elitist, right? I'm looking for the right term, but it's someone who's more in the establishment type. I don't think it's going to be a great SOS.
I mean, because there's been a bit of a debate between folks within the conservative movement. Trump is at the top of the ticket. I mean, Donald Trump is the president of the United States. So if there's somebody like a Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, some of these folks that may not be defined, and I'm going to air quote this, loyalist, but they have been, there's possibility that they may be put into these roles. If they haven't been somebody who has been totally loyal or on board with Donald Trump in the past, but they are now, because Donald Trump is at the top of the ticket, they're going to follow his orders, though. So
I agree.
Yeah. So when you look at if Marco Rubio ends up being the Secretary of State, you're right. There's going to be, some hue and cry from some people on the right who are, clear supporters of Donald Trump because they'll feel like Marco Rubio hasn't always been, again, loyal. I'm going to air quote that word. But if Trump's at the top of the ticket, they're going to be executing what the president says needs to be executed, right?
Right. And I think somebody like a Marco Rubio will be, more inclined to push the Trump agenda because he wants to be in good graces with him now, right? So I don't think it would be terrible. I don't have a good feeling about it. It's kind of just an ick that I can't explain, a gut feeling. That, he's got friends in that quote unquote neocon friendship circle, right? So, right. And he's not always been America first not just in a Trump way, but just in an America way.
Listen, he was pro-amnesty. I mean, way back when, right? So, I mean, trust me when I say, I like some things about Marco Rubio. I think that he's learned from his mistakes, but I think ultimately Trump is going to pick the team that he wants to pick. And if we know anything about Donald Trump, I believe that he's learned from his previous mistakes of picking the wrong people.
Agreed. I think there's a little bit of, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer kind of thing. And not that Marco Rubio is an enemy, but he's controllable in a place that's in the administration, where if he does stay in the Senate, he can kind of vote against some things that, maybe Trump wouldn't appreciate. So
speaking,
we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of the Senate, of course, Mitch McConnell stepping down in his leadership role. So now the task of replacing Mitch McConnell, 3 names have been out there: John Thune, John Cornyn, Rick Scott. Now, it seems to me there's a lot of people who are Trump supporters that really like Rick Scott. The rumor is that Senator Marsha Blackburn likes John Thune. There's a list that was going out, and some people say the list was bogus. Other people say it was a real list. Senator Bill Hagerty, he has come out on the record and said that he likes Rick Scott. So I'll talk to him about that at 8:06. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on all this?
Bogus or not, I don't think it matters. That's a tactic that these leadership things go, they go through this, right? Where they leak a list, real or not, and then it makes everybody fall in line, or at the very least makes them have to come out and publicly say who they support, which I am in favor of, right? I don't necessarily love the tactic of a fake list, but at the same time, I like the result of a fake list because it is putting people on record. Because remember, this vote is going to be secret tomorrow.
Right.
And as elected officials, in my opinion, they should have to tell us who they are supporting. I don't like secret lists or secret votes. I don't think that serves the people, their constituents, very well. I'm going to give Marsha Blackburn the benefit of the doubt. From what I understand, she has been busy and kind of out of office, and so we'll hear from her soon. But I don't like this kind of dancing around the edges, and that's kind of how I feel about it with a lot of these senators right now. I think that they're trying to walk the line carefully, when in reality, just go ahead and vote for Rick Scott. He's the one who is the most likely to push through the Trump agenda. And if you don't think that it was a mandate last Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Then there's something wrong with how you're looking at things, particularly as a GOP senator.
Totally agree. EJ, sorry, this is a bit of a shorter segment this time around. A very busy morning, but how can people find you on the socials?
Sure. Go find me at EJ Under the Radar on X.
All right. Always great to have you on, EJ. We'll have you on again soon. 7:23, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up, Joan Jones has the news at 7:30. Joan, what is coming up?
Well, I-24 shut down for hours last night. We'll tell you why. Also, there's a renewed push to get rid of the grocery tax in Tennessee, but not everybody's on board with it. We'll have those stories coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you do need to ask. Some insurance companies refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof. So if you've got an older roof and it gets destroyed, you're on the hook for thousands of dollars. My friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they will pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. 615-329-8121. Get your royal review, tkinginsurance.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spice and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Well, good morning to you. It is now 7:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 50 degrees now, a little bit cloudy, but we'll get sunny today, and our high is only 65. The forecast and traffic still to come. A pedestrian who was hit by multiple vehicles as he walked along I-24 in Antioch last night has died. Police say they're not sure why he was walking on the interstate. The crash shut down all westbound lanes of I-24 for several hours. Nashville City Council is taking up whether to ban street vendors in almost all of downtown Nashville. Today, council votes on a proposal that would expand restrictions to the Gulch, where complaints have been on the rise. These folks spoke to Channel 4 about that proposal.
It wouldn't exactly be a walk in the park to have street vendors and, huge crowds kind of trying to walk through here.
I'm not entirely sure that I would feel safe riding a bike in this area because I would be scared to get hit by a car. I think that if you widened the sidewalks, it would definitely help.
Nashville DOT said 29 pedestrians have been struck by cars in the Gulch over the past 3 years. Another push from a state legislator to eliminate the Tennessee grocery sales tax. Representative Afton Bain has reintroduced a bill to replace the 4% tax on groceries with a bill to increase the business tax, which would cost Tennessee businesses some $800 million. Opponents of the bill say taxing businesses more means they'll just raise the price of their goods. The market numbers report here brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. After a rally yesterday on Wall Street, looks like stock futures are flat. Dow futures are up 43, but the NASDAQ futures are down 7. S&P futures are down 5 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 7:32 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. If you love watches like I do, then you need to check out the Brentwood Jewelry Watch event going on November 18th through the 28th. This is huge. You can skip the holiday lines and find early Christmas deals at Brentwood Jewelry's watch event with exclusive discounts on selected watch brands. You'll find the perfect gift for everyone on your list and maybe one for yourself. Make this holiday season timeless with Brentwood Jewelry. You can find anything at Brentwood Jewelry: watches, rings, earrings, bracelets, necklaces. Terrific options and prices at Brentwood Jewelry for this holiday season. I love Brentwood Jewelry. You will too. Tell them Dan told you to stop by. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional styles, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. Find them online, BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Got a problem on 24 in the eastbound lanes. This is just before Whites Creek Pike, exit 35. It's stop-and-go traffic around a crash that is blocking the left lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.736 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into Nashville's Morning News. Johnny B is here as well, and Joan Jones is in the newsroom, and Matt Bassett is on the WTN hotline. Matt, longtime listeners will know that you've been with me before many times, and you used to work in President-elect Donald Trump's administration, the first go-around in the Department of Health and Human Services. Part of that role was dealing with the issues on the southern border. Matt, it's great to have you back on Nashville's Morning News. And let me ask you, as somebody who has been through this process of trying to get confirmed, to trying to get into the Trump administration the first time around, people are talking about the insanity of all of these people in Washington, D.C., trying to get a spot within the incoming Trump administration. I think right now the former president and president-elect, he's been, as far as we can tell, somewhat decisive if you listen to the reporting. But let me ask you, what is going on right now? You've been through this process. What's going on right now in Washington, D.C.?
Well, Dan, good to be with you. It's a very different scenario than we had back in 2015. I think if people were being honest, last time we weren't fully prepared to win.
No.
And I'll say that because Hillary Clinton had every position in the federal government that she could appoint staffed, and you can go back on the internet and find a chart of this. She fully expected to win and had everyone she wanted in every position. And you juxtapose that with where we were back in 2015. And, you know, I had known that I wanted to serve in the administration, and I called over to D.C. and talked to some folks and said, what do you need to do? And they said, you need to buy a Southwest ticket right now. They set up an office across the street from the old executive, and you need to just literally go and stand in line. So I bought a ticket and got out of a cab. I got in line. It was a short line. I was standing behind Sean Hannity, and as we were waiting, Sebastian Gorka got out of a cab and got in line, and you just went in and told folks what you wanted to do. And, you know, it worked out for me, but it's just a very, very different process. I think President Trump does not get enough credit for how he learns from experience. And now that he is going into a second term, clearly he needed to staff it with people who would support his agenda. And now he knows the players, he knows the people, and it's going to be very, very different this time around.
Oh, I've been obsessed over the term loyalist. CNN is using the term loyalist. Other places are using the term loyalist as well. And they're trying to make it seem like he's sort of installing people who are loyal to this dictator, right? And people on the super text line, 615-737-9986, they're saying, some people say loyalists, other people say patriots. And I agree. This clearly, Matt Bassett, was a mandate from the American people. We have now the House, a very thin majority. We have the Senate, a very healthy majority. And, of course, obviously, we have the White House. Donald Trump needs to put people in the right places so that his agenda can be executed. It has to be, because this was a mandate from the American people, especially when it comes to the southern border. I want to play you a piece of audio from a buddy of yours, Tom Homan, who is now going to be the border czar. This is a reminder of what he had to say on 60 Minutes.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Every time I hear that, I laugh. First of all, what do you think of those numbers? $88 billion to deport 1 million. Does that sound about right to you? It seems to me like if ICE already knows where the criminals are, and that's where they're going to start, is the gangbangers, the criminals, and so forth, we know where they are. And that seems to me like easy pickings once you let ICE do their job.
Yeah, well, just a word about Tom Homan. Tom has served in bipartisan fashion since the Reagan administration. And he has done the rank and file work. He has been a Border Patrol agent. And there's not a better person on the planet to undertake this job. And it's worth noting that almost all presidents deported a lot of people except for this administration. Obama deported a lot of people. He hired Tom Homan to be the head of, it was called Immigration and Naturalization Services back then, and gave him a distinguished award for doing so. And at the time, the Washington Post said, Thomas Homan is very good at, he deports people, and he's very good at it. And so he is going to be perfect to be you can't get a clearer day and night comparison between the so-called border czar in Kamala Harris and what Tom Homan is going to do. And you're exactly right, Dan. He said he's going to start with the worst of the worst. He is going to find the violent offenders, the people who have committed heinous crimes in other countries, and he is going to swiftly deport them. I heard him say last night that under President Biden, deportation of violent immigrants was down 70%.
Yep.
Under the Biden administration.
74%. 74%.
And he is going to fix that very, very quickly. And this stuff is going to happen very swiftly. When I was filling in there at the station, Dan, I had Tom on, and I asked him, how long would it take to actually secure the southern border? And he thought about it, and he said 30 or 40 days to completely seal the border. And that's step one. And then it's to your point, going and finding the people who should not be among us and swiftly removing them from the country. And I don't know who could be against that. The press will be against it from day one. But honestly, in this cycle, Dan, the mainstream media has pretty much lost all credibility. And to your point, he's got a mandate to go in there and fix this and fix it quickly. And I expect he'll do that.
745, Nashville's Morning News. Matt Bassett is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Matt, a couple of other questions for you coming up. Time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7. .745 on Nashville's Morning News. Partly cloudy today and a high of 65. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. 49 degrees. Matt Bassett is joining us. Matt, let's talk a little bit about, because I know Maria Bartiromo even said this the other day, which is, realistically speaking, how do we deport? I mean, we're talking about 10, 15, 20 million people. We don't even know what we don't know about how many people are in this country. But is it safe to say that dealing with the gangbangers and the illegals that have, broken laws, violent criminals and that kind of a thing, is it safe to say that will basically be the 4 years of Donald Trump, is focusing on those people? Or do you think that he'll actually get to those that have illegally crossed the border but have not broken any other crimes other than our immigration crimes?
Well, I don't think it will be the initial focus, but the fact remains that over the last 4 years, between 11 and 20 million people have walked into our country. Mm-hmm. Never before in the history of really any country has anyone done something so galactically stupid. And I think when you look at the list of reasons that Kamala Harris lost, this has to be up at number one or number two. If you don't have a secure border, you don't have a nation. And I think the bigger difference is when you look at immigration, it's always a question of incentives. Are you encouraging people to do it and break the law, or are you discouraging it? And I think that every policy Trump puts in place from day one will say, if you're going to come to this country, you need to come legally. And I think the difference now is there is a national consensus. I think something upwards of 60% of the country supports mass deportations.
Yeah,
And
they do.
That's a huge change from 8 or 12 years ago. And so I think Donald Trump was prescient in saying this is a big problem. And the big difference is he's not going to go and defer to the Speaker of the House or whoever becomes the Senate Majority Leader in order to do it. I think last time he got a lot of bad advice from Speaker Ryan and from Mitch McConnell, and I think now he's got a mandate and he's going to say, look, this is what we're doing. And, you asked about the term loyalist. My thing is last time he had to kind of take whoever was there because of the massive scope of filling so many jobs. This time he doesn't have to do it. And what I'd say to people seeking jobs in the administration is make sure you're on board with what the president wants to do. I think you had a lot of people like Josh Bolton who said, I'm very smart. I know the president said this last time, but I'll convince him to do it my way. And those all ended up in disaster. And I think if you want to serve, you need to be on board with what the commander-in-chief is wanting to do.
Well, I mean, you're right. It was a mandate, and it was a resounding mandate. And you're talking about immigration and the economy are the two biggest issues that people voted on. I mean, clearly abortion wasn't nearly the issue that the Democrats wanted or hoped that it would be. It was all about, in my opinion, immigration and abortion as well. What do you think of Stephen Miller? Stephen Miller is out there now, and they're saying that he is going to be the chief of staff for policy, I guess, on immigration. And I think it's safe to say, and I'm going to play a quick audio bite here, I think it's safe to say that Stephen Miller is somebody who is rather hawkish on illegal immigration.
You read one of these heartbreaking headlines. Who's going to stand up for our daughters? Who's going to stand up for the girls of America, the women of America, the families of America? Who's going to stand up and say the cartels are gone, the criminal migrants are gone, the gangs are gone, America is for Americans and Americans only?
Now, of course, he is being called a white nationalist this morning, but that's to be expected. But, I mean, if you are anti-illegal immigration, Tom Homan and Stephen Miller are two of the best.
They are, and they were the architects last time around. Stephen Miller, very, very involved with all the immigration, especially from the legal side, and figuring out how to constitutionally do all these things and dealing with a lot of difficult issues. But again, he was one of the people who was in the West Wing for all 4 years. He defended Trump's policies for 4 years when it was very, very unpopular to do so. And he and Tom Homan and Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf were really the people who put this in place last time. And they know what to do, and I think they're going to prosecute this very quickly. They're very thankless jobs, and you become public enemy number one with the media. But I just don't think people want results from the Trump administration, and I think that's going to be their clear focus. National security is not going to take a backseat to anything, and the safety of the American people is going to be paramount with these type of folks.
I think Donald Trump has a whole new attitude this time around. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and it seems to me like he, especially with these two appointments, if you will, he knows that these are the two people that can get this done. And so I think these are all great choices, Tom Homan and Stephen Miller as well. Very quickly, I don't know if you want to comment on this or not. Leader in the Senate, as you know, Mitch McConnell stepping down. You've got three names that have come forward: John Thune, John Cornyn, Rick Scott. MAGA world, I guess, I don't know what you want to call him, but supporters of Donald Trump say that Rick Scott really should be the guy that leads the Senate. John Cornyn, John Thune, both have been on the record as saying some very anti-Trump things. And I think that for people who pay attention to such things, I don't think that Rick Scott has ever done that. I don't know if Rick Scott has ever shown any disdain for Donald Trump. Do you have an opinion on all that?
I think he appears to be very loyal to Trump. I think he's very much on board with the policy. Having said that, I would almost defer on that to, I know you've got Senator Hagerty coming up.
Yep.
There's, in my opinion, not a finer public servant than Bill Hagerty. Very, very close to the president. Every time the president flies into Nashville, they are together. So the Senate is a little, what's the word? They like to organize their house the way they like to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think the question with Senator Scott is how popular is he among other senators? So I think it'll be very interesting what Bill Hagerty has to say.
Well, be listening at 8:06. We're going to have him on. Matt Bassett, always great to have you on. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll have you on again soon. It is 7:52. Joan Jones has the news at 8. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, a judge decides whether President Trump will be sentenced to prison today. Also, more attacks on Jews in Amsterdam overnight. Those stories coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 7:53 on Super Talk 99.7. What if you could take all that high-interest debt like credit cards and car loans and just consolidate everything into one lower payment and get it done by January? Loan Pronto can do that, so stop stressing and call them today to get started. Right now, we've got the lowest rates in 2 years. So right now is the perfect chance to use your home's equity and save big time going into the new year. They've got rates with APRs in the lower fives, and they're getting homeowners hundreds of thousands of dollars out of their home's equity. Homeowners who do this can save on average $850 a month. Loan Pronto does offer a ton of options, including total refis or their express equity lines of credit. So call right now, get a rate quote in just minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call today and you won't make a house payment until 2025. You can find them online, loanpronto.com. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. 7:57, Nashville's Morning News. I know, Johnny, I was a couple of seconds late. I've been ignoring the super text line this morning, and I feel bad. A lot of people congratulating me for coming back from my unpaid suspension. You know, my standard answer is, Joan?
What is your standard answer?
It wasn't nearly long enough. I'm just kidding. Senator Bill Hagerty is going to join us next. What question do you want me to ask Senator Hagerty? I've got a big, long list, but I also want to know what you would like me to ask the senator. 758 615-737-9986. If you want to hit me up on the super text line, feel free. 615-737-WWTN. Got a lot more straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning, 8 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Stick around. We've got the forecast for you, and it's a little on the cool side today, too. Traffic as well coming up in 5 minutes. Well, all eyes are on a New York courtroom today where a judge will decide whether to dismiss the hush money election interference conviction against President Trump or proceed with the sentencing of the newly elected president. ABC's Aaron Katersky has more.
That decision the judge is going to make here today is going to determine whether President-elect Trump takes office as a convicted felon. You'll remember it was back in May. A jury here found Trump guilty of charges that involved money he had paid just before the 2016 election to silence adult film actress Stormy Daniels about their long-denied affair. Trump argued that conviction should be thrown out because of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity.
Other news, new arrests have been made in Amsterdam over anti-Semitic violence against Israeli soccer fans.
Of the more than 60 that were arrested over the last week, 8 remain in custody. 3 more were arrested last night. Now, all this kicked off after that soccer match. Israeli soccer fans were heard chanting racist, anti-Palestinian slogans, and those soccer fans were set upon by some of these demonstrators, some of them on the backs of motorcycles. The mayor of Amsterdam called these anti-Semitic hit-and-run squads. Truly terrifying for all those involved.
That's ABC's James Longman reporting, and the violence continues. Last night, Palestinian protesters set fire to a tram. Well, there's another push to end Tennessee's taxes on food.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell says his team's looking into what it would cost to get rid of the grocery tax in Davidson County. It says they'll be looking at a number of things as they approach the fiscal year 26 budget. That's when Metro will have a new finance director. They want to evaluate things, knowing that this is an appraisal year. Nashville Democrat State Rep Afton Ben filed a bill earlier this year to replace grocery taxes with a business tax, but it didn't make it. Well, she's filed another one this fall. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Scammers are targeting people who post on social media about their lost pets. In Coffee County, scammers have reportedly been calling people to say they've found the pet, but they'll send you a code to click on to make sure you are the real owner of that pet. Well, Coffee County Animal Control says they'll never send a code, and you're advised not to click on any such code. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures mixed, with Dow futures up 60, NASDAQ futures are plus 12, and we've got S&P futures down just a fraction about a half hour before the opening bell. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Got a crash in Joelton. This is on the eastbound side of 24, right before Whites Creek. Stop and go traffic there. Also in Hermitage, a crash that blocks the HOV lanes of I-40 westbound past Stewart's Ferry Pike, exit 219. And another one, this is in Blackman, a crash that blocks the left lane on 840 westbound, right at Veterans Parkway, exit 50. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends, along with Johnny B, Joan Jones. Dan Mandis here. I want to welcome on into the Newsmaker Hotline, Senator Bill Hagerty joining us, I'm assuming, from Washington, D.C. Senator, how are you this morning?
I'm well, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm good. So, of course, you know that you're in the news over the last several days. There's been a lot of talk about you becoming Secretary of State or taking some sort of a position within the incoming Trump administration. Is there any news that you'd like to share one way or the other?
No, I've left the speculation to the speculators, Dan. I'm more excited than ever, though, about the possibility for our nation going forward. I think the voters spoke loud and clear on Tuesday. Our aim is to get, a great team around President Trump and to get the Senate configured to move forward on his agenda as well. We haven't had a vote like this in 36 years in terms of the mandate that President Trump has received. We've got leadership selections for the U.S. Senate underway this evening in Washington and into tomorrow. But we need to get, again, the Senate configured so that we can legislate appropriately And also, you may have seen this, Dan, I sent letters to every agency head, every department head, informing them of their responsibilities under the law, citing the explicit areas of the U.S. Code that they cannot reprogram money, they can't put money out into non-governmental organizations, send it to the UN, things that we found out the Obama administration did back in 2016 on their way out the door to, quote, keep the funds out of the hands of the Trump people. I've also sent letters to the inspectors general of every one of these agencies and departments, telling them I want a full report on January the 20th, demonstrating how they've complied with the law and that none of these funds have been reprogrammed, people and processes and programs haven't been moved. All of the things that we found out, the sort of dirty tricks that an outgoing administration can do and has done to us in the past, we're watching for them, and I'm on the Appropriations Committee, so I'll be watching this like a hawk so I can make certain that President Trump's team, as they come in, are not frustrated with people moving money around, putting sand in the gears, and making it more difficult for us to succeed.
Well, as you know, Senator, there's still, despite this mandate, it is shocking to me, probably not shocking to you, but despite the enormity of this mandate that we saw last Tuesday, there still is a very strong contingent of anti-Trumpers, obviously, in Washington, D.C. You've got governors out there, as you know, the governor of California, the governor of Massachusetts, both saying that they will try to Trump-proof their states. What's the feeling like in the Senate right now? I mean, you have the Democrats, of course, not happy with this election, but where are the heads at as far as the Democrats go? Are they going to be part of the anti-Trump movement, obviously?
I'm certain they'll get there, but right now they're all pointing fingers at one another. It's like a circular firing squad on their side. Who can they blame? Is it Kamala Harris's fault? Is it Joe Biden's fault? Is it the fault? Frankly, I think it's the fault of the left media and the elite Democrats being just so out of touch with the American people, Dan. I mean, we feel it in Tennessee. The so-called flyover states certainly know it. And, I think this elitism and this, this we know better than everybody else has come back to haunt them greatly because they are just out of touch with America at every level. This experiment in Marxism, we knew wouldn't work. It hasn't worked, and the American people have spoken loud and clear that they don't want any more of this.
Senator Bill Hagerty joining us. Okay, so you talked about the reconfiguration in the Senate. Of course, Mitch McConnell stepping down as leadership. So there's three names that have been floated, John Thune, John Cornyn, Rick Scott. You came out a few days ago openly endorsing Rick Scott. And there was a list, Senator, and I don't know if you've been asked about it or not yet, but this list really set the internet on fire the other day because it showed all of the senators and who they were going to vote for. And there was made note that Senator Marsha Blackburn was thinking of supporting John Thune. I'm not going to ask you about that. But my question to you would be, do you know of this list? And how accurate do you know it to be, if you know about the list?
Actually, Dan, I don't know about the list. It's the first I've heard of there being a list. I know that I was the first person to come out and endorse Senator Scott after the election, simply because I feel the American people have spoken very, very loudly. They want to see significant change. They want to see the change that President Trump articulated in his campaign. Rick Scott is, in my view, the most capable of executing that vision. And it was a simple decision for me, and that's who I'll be voting for on Wednesday.
What do you think about these votes being done in secret? There's a lot of people that think that these votes should be made public. I've spoken, I believe, to Senator Blackburn about this years ago, but I understand the reasoning behind keeping these votes secret, even though you came out and publicly endorsed Rick Scott. But is the reason why these are meant to be secret for fear of any kind of retaliation? So, for example, you openly support Rick Scott, but are you worried that, say, if John Thune ends up being the leader, that he could retaliate against you knowing that you supported Rick Scott?
Well, I hope that that's not the case. I called John Thune and John Cornyn before I called Rick Scott to tell them both that I was going to be endorsing Rick Scott. They weren't surprised. And that's the way I handle things. And I also am not, I'm not hesitant to let my constituents know how I vote. So each person has a different style, Dan. I won't comment on how others address this, but you know how I chose to do it.
Are you, when it comes to the secret votes, I mean, is that the reasoning why they want to keep it secret, for fear of retaliation?
I don't know. I mean, I've served in the United States Senate for 4 years. These rules were designed long before I got there. So I don't know what the predicate was for setting this rule up. I could certainly see the argument that you make. That's certainly one reason that could be the case. But I'm not really, I wasn't part of making these rules, nor do I know the history of them.
I got to tell you, this is going to be exciting. Republicans, I'm sure you know that they now have a very slight majority in the House. They have a solid majority in the Senate. Of course, the White House as well. There's a lot of things that Republicans want to see happen. Of course, mass deportation being one of them. We've been talking about that this morning with the Tom Homan becoming the border czar, Stephen Miller as well being involved in the Trump administration from an immigration standpoint. Talk about what you can do with not only the majority in the Senate, but also the slight majority in the House.
Well, the first thing that we can do is issue executive orders undoing the 94 executive orders that Joe Biden issued in his first 100 days to destroy the sanctity of our southern border. We need to see sovereignty back in our nation again, and that can be done immediately through a series of executive orders. So I think we'll return as rapidly as possible in that direction. We'll also, again, stop the reprogramming of funds that I'm certain that these agencies would like to try to do, and get back to a position where we actually are defending our southern border and making certain that we have adequate resources for ICE and for border wall building and maintenance. All of this has to be addressed with the Congress in terms of our power of the purse and spending to support it. But clearly, with Republicans having the gavel in both houses, we'll be able to get this done.
Part of, I think, the American people, what they voted on, definitely two big things, of course, and that was immigration and the economy, abortion. I think that the media and the Democrats made a lot more out of that than I think turned out to be reality. So when you go back into Washington, D.C., and you come back, you've chosen a leader and everything is going in the right direction. Part of my question has to be, when it comes to the Democrats, are you worried that they're going to try to utilize some sort of a lawfare to derail Donald Trump's second term in office like they tried to do the first?
I think we can count on the Democrats using every tool at their disposal, and we're just going to have an attorney general and a team ready to fight back at every point. The American public, though, now are highly sensitized to the tactics that the Democrats are willing to use. They've seen it unfold and how unfair it is. We're going to be pushing back at every level, but I think you're wise, Dan, to assume that that's a very real threat.
All right, Senator Bill Hagerty, always great to have you on the program, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Likewise, great to be with you. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye. I had 4 minutes left, but I could tell. Johnny Conjone, could you tell he was just like...
Well, he was talking to somebody off mic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was being called away.
I could tell that this was a man who the last guy he would be on the phone with was me. And I know the reason why, because he's got a ton of stuff going on. And by the way, the media is reporting, this was from earlier this morning, Senator Bill Hagerty, they say, is no longer in contention for a cabinet post in the next Trump administration, per a couple of sources. Here's the deal, though, and I asked him about that, whether or not he's, did he have anything to announce either way. I don't necessarily believe, Joe, do you believe anything that the media reports? Johnny,
No.
do you guys remember any, do you really believe anything that they report anymore?
I mean, honestly,
I don't.
We've seen. I feel like we've seen this movie before, and we are changing the ending because we know what happens. And it's just like he said. I mean, they're familiar with the tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to say they overheard Trump saying something bad.
Yep.
And they'll start impeachment right away.
Yes.
It's all the same
Well,
stuff.
that's what I said about lawfare.
It's going to be a rerun, basically.
By the way, I was looking at some of those. Joan, you were reporting this just real quickly. You were reporting on MSNBC.
Yeah.
And how their ratings have completely tanked. I think the reason why, I think there's a number of reasons why. One of the reasons is because I believe that their viewers, what few they had, by the way, but I think that their viewers are deflated. Because I think that there's a lot of people that look at MSNBC and they're like, you were lying to us all this time.
I hope they see through that. I hope they do see what MSNBC was doing. And Joy Reid especially, oh my goodness, I hope they see through it.
Yeah. Well, and Joy Reid for people. Well, people know. Rachel Maddow or Joy Reid, which is worse? I think Joy Reid is worse.
I think Joy Reid is much worse.
She is just, you want to talk about low-hanging fruit? I mean, everything is racist to Joy Reid.
Yeah.
And I think that a couple of things are going on. Number one, I do believe that their viewers are deflated. I think they're angry. I think that they're upset. They can't believe that Donald Trump won. That's number one. And number two, I do believe that their viewers believe that they were lied to. Because for how long they talked about, and this goes back to the Biden White House inviting Hitler in for, to talk about the transition. I think that they feel lied to, and that the MSNBC, they're disingenuous because all they've been doing is talking about how, Trump is Hitler and all of us are a bunch of Nazis. And now the viewers of MSNBC are like, well, what happened to all that? I mean, what happened? I think that they just realized perhaps how far out of touch they are, and they want to just go away for a while. I think that's part of what's going on. I think that they just want to go away. They want to go to their cry rooms. They want to go to, head underneath the covers kind of a thing, and perhaps they'll be back at some point.
I know that they've lost a lot of female viewers because so many of them are off shaving their heads and trying to figure out how to tell their husbands they're not going to have sex with them anymore.
And have sex with their liberal friends.
That's right, yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
That is so big. And I saw the video of these women shaving their heads.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is wrong with you? I mean, I was going to shave my head if Trump lost, but,
I have to tell you, my very best friend.
Trying to get the joke?
Oh,
I've already got a shaved head, folks.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are you saying, John?
My very best friend from high school, so we've been friends for forever. I went to Facebook this week, and both she and her husband have now just black for their profile picture and black for the background. That's all.
Did you know that she was a leftist?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You didn't call the gloat?
I sort of posted a flag for my profile picture and a flag for my background.
Yeah.
Was that gloating? Is that too much? Did I go too far?
You know what? I only believe that it counts as gloating if you either call the person or send a text. I think that's what gloating is. But, you can state your...
Right. Why do I have to hide?
I was at a restaurant. All right, you ready? Story time.
Okay.
I was at a restaurant, and the waitress recognized me. And she said, "Holy cow! We pulled it. We pulled it through. We won the race." And so we talked for just very briefly. She got in trouble for that. I went in.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I went in a couple of days later, and she sat down and she said, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry if I offended you by talking politics at work." And I'm like, "I'm a talk show host. I mean, this is what I do."
Right.
And she said that she got in trouble. She got written up. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
You got in trouble for talking.
Because she talked to you or just because she was talking to somebody?
Oh, I guess I didn't even think to ask that question. But I guess because she brought it up to somebody. And I don't know if she defended herself by saying, he's a talk show host. I mean, we're on the same page. It's not like I'm picking a fight. And so it's just sort of like, oh, well, whatever. But I gave her a healthy tip.
Well, you know what? If Kamala had won, she'd never been talked to.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Oh, and she, you know what, Johnny? She was saying a lot of the people around here have been hanging their heads because, Kamala lost. But, she even asked the boss, well, if I was talking positive about Kamala Harris, if she won the election, would I be spoken to? And the manager apparently had nothing to say. Yeah. Well, we're not going to talk about what ifs.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know the answer.
So now I'm stuck in the awkward position of, well, I still want to go to this place, but at the same time, I feel like I don't want to support a place that is, coming down on, one of my favorite waitresses for talking about Trump. You know what I mean? So I'm still gonna go to this place, but I'm going to do my best to have this particular waitress, and again give her a healthy tip. So,
amen.
Because I think that's what we're seeing. I think there's a lot of people that are just so clueless as to what happened last Tuesday. It's been a week. actually. It has been a week. I was talking to somebody in the hallway here, and she had said, because I haven't seen this person in a while, and she said, "Are you glad this is over?" And I don't know where she stands politically. "Are you glad this is over?" And I said, what I'm glad is that we can talk about positives, things that are positive moving forward, as opposed to just, Kamala Harris said this and they're lying about that, and Karine Jean-Pierre said this and Joe Biden is, mentally deranged. We can talk about conservative speaking, positive things moving forward. That's what I'm so excited about. And that's why I'm not covering all of the stupidity, all of the insanity, all of the mental illness of women saying that they're not going to sleep with their husbands and shaving their heads because of a political election. It's just dumb. And I'm not gonna cover it anymore. I mean, I might just for a laugh, but I'm not going to cover it extensively because there's a lot of really important work that needs to be done right now. And that's what I'm going to focus on. Trump wants to eliminate the Department of Education, by the way.
Is he reorganizing it, or is he still talking about getting rid of it? Because I saw the words reorganizing today.
Here's what I'm going to play you the audio.
Okay.
Joan, how about this? So this is what he said.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children.
It'll be interesting. Wow. Is it costs a lot of money to run the Department of Education at the federal level.
Yes, it does.
So do we get that money back at the state level?
Wow.
I'm asking a question. We should. If we could just save the children. Do it for the children, Democrats. Because that's what Donald Trump is doing.
Because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
He wants to get the woke out of our children's education, and I couldn't be happier.
How many stories have we done about the children not even being able to read when they're coming out of high school?
Oh, absolutely.
And not being able to do math at their grade level.
You know what, Joan? They know all the acronyms, though. BLM.
Oh, yeah, they do.
All that. They know all that stuff.
Yeah.
But ask them to read, and nope. But they, again, know all the woke stuff. It is 8:25 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones has the news at 8:30. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, we've got the list, the who's who list of Trump picks for his new administration. Also, some new information about why Melania Trump will not go to the White House for the traditional tea with the current sitting First Lady. Very interesting. That's coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:25 Nashville's Morning News. Working so early in the morning, that first cup of coffee and the second and the third is absolutely crucial. That's why I love Space Cowboy Coffee. Now, I depend on Space Cowboy Coffee to get me going in the morning. It is my new favorite. It really does inspire me to get downstairs, start brewing, and start prepping. Now, this is a great local company based in Nashville, and they've got a lot of fans. And right now, if you use promo code Dan, you get 10% off and free shipping when you order $50 or more. So take it from the coffee snob. Space Cowboy Coffee is absolutely incredible. Now, they've got a blend for every person. Some folks like their coffee on the medium and lighter side, but me, I'm into darker roasts, which means I love their Starstrom and Costa Rican single origin coffees. They give me that jolt I need to get up and out the door every morning. So whatever roast you want, Space Cowboy Coffee has it for you. Find them online. It is spacecowboycoffee.com. Remember to use promo code Dan, spacecowboycoffee.com. Their terrific brand is available in K-Cups, whole bean, or ground. Either way, it is the right way to wake up with Space Cowboy Coffee, spacecowboycoffee.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 89.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist. And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. He can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck.
Good morning. It's 8:31, and I'm Joan Jones with the latest news. We're sitting at 54 degrees with some clouds right now. We've got your forecast still to come. More picks for the new Trump administration announced overnight. President Trump has reportedly selected Florida Senator Marco Rubio to serve as his Secretary of State, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary, and Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida to be his national security advisor. Amsterdam police have arrested more people in connection with the anti-Semitic attacks on Israeli soccer fans last week. ABC's James Longman has the latest.
There's been unrest in Amsterdam for a second night in a row after those clashes between Israeli soccer fans and pro-Palestinian protesters. Last night, a group claiming solidarity with the Palestinians clashed with riot police in a suburb of Amsterdam. They set fire to a tram. Now, protests have been banned in Amsterdam since that violence last week, but many of these protesters have defied that ban, so many of them have been arrested.
In Michigan, a group of people carrying Nazi flags demonstrated outside a community theater where The Diary of Anne Frank was being performed. The Detroit News reports the demonstrators left after sheriff's deputies showed up. Anti-Semitic protests have been on the rise in the U.S., especially noted on college campuses in the years since the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th of last year. New information about Melania Trump's decision not to go to the White House for a traditional tea with the sitting First Lady Jill Biden. The New York Post quotes a source familiar with Melania's decision as saying she has not gotten over the Biden administration's raid on Mar-a-Lago. The source told the Post, quote, Jill Biden's husband authorized the FBI snooping through her underwear drawer. The Bidens are disgusting. That's a quote from the New York Post. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Couple of minutes here since the opening bell, and the Dow Jones Industrials are up 74. NASDAQ is down 37. And the S&P 500 index down just a fraction. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thanks, Joan. 8:33. Skip the hassle and sell your home with the strongest cash offer this fall. With Mark Spain Real Estate, their guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. Dan Mandis here, and with that guaranteed offer, you can skip the uncertainty and sell your home fast for all cash in as little as 21 days. There's no showings, no open houses, and no costly repairs. Just cash in hand and a stress-free sale. Listener Ryan said that Mark Spain Real Estate exceeded our expectations by helping us achieve significantly over our asking price. We can't recommend Mark Spain enough, they say, listener Ryan says, and I got to tell you, I feel the same way as Ryan. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out, 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD for Mark Spain Real Estate, and get a guaranteed offer on your home today. Find them online. It's markspain.com, and start packing.
Well, let's see, Jolton this morning. There's a crash that's still blocking the left lane on eastbound 24. It's at Whites Creek Pike exit 35. Traffic before it is stop and go as well. And at the airport this morning, a crash on 40 westbound at Donaldson Pike, and it's blocking off the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.36 Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Big news for my friends at DT McCall's. If you've been thinking about buying a gun safe, but you've been putting it off, now is the best time to buy one from DT McCall's, because right now they are sales tax free. Sales tax free gun safes from DT McCall's. They are the largest Liberty safe dealer in the state of Tennessee. Why? Free delivery and free setup. Now, a lot of these other places, They're going to charge you $500 at least for delivery and setup in the bigger models, $300 in the smaller models, but not at DT McCall's. DT McCall & Sons, they deliver every safe for free every time, period. No setup charges either. And again, you can't say it enough. DT McCall's, they are the largest Liberty Safe dealer here in the state of Tennessee. They've got 5 locations across Middle Tennessee: Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com. $8:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into the Gang of Four. Hey, everybody, we're all back in one place. Joan Jones is here. Good morning, Joan.
Hello there.
Johnny B's here as well. Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
Chris Hand is here. Hello, Chris.
What's up? Did you have to get a new key card after the suspension, or did the old one work?
You know, they had to reprogram the old one.
Okay, all right, good to know.
Everybody's asking me, hey, Dan, it's really great to be back from your suspension without pay. And what I said was, I got to make sure the next one is longer, actually.
You got to go harder.
I do. Now, Chris, you'll love this. Chris comes in, and he's like, hey, I was really, we were just having fun about the whole suspended thing. You know that, right? I said to Chris, was it really? No, I know it was all in fun, and everybody on the Super Text line has been very supportive. And I mentioned earlier, Chris, that I felt like my, air quoting, suspension without pay was really kind of stolen valor because I wasn't actually, did you go through this part of it? That we figured out after I got off the air, it wasn't me.
No, it was not you.
That was talking smack. Now, I will also say, this time, it wasn't me. It was Chris, who, quite frankly, should have been suspended. You admitted on Friday that you were the one. Did we do that on the air?
Well, I didn't admit that they called me on it. I just admitted that I thought it would have been me.
Okay. So much better.
I said, I'm surprised it was Dan. I thought it would have been something I said.
It's what is.
Well, and so the best part of all of this is that downstairs they protested the strike, and they protested, taking us down for 24 hours. And the great thing is they had it back up within.
As soon as my show started.
As soon as your show started, I'm going to admit, I was a little pissed off.
So I caused the suspension, and then I got it back in time for my show.
That's exactly right.
What a
was
guy.
not a happy camper, man. Whatever.
And then you had a day off to stew in it.
And then I had, we went to Florida for a very quick.
Oh, look at you.
Well, it's Amy and Riker's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just us talking?
Just us.
How much do you spend on birthday parties for the kids?
Party?
Oh, the party?
Well, he's got 4, so.
Oh, yeah. A little different.
We've been trying to skate by combining the boys because they got 2 summer birthdays.
Okay.
So that saves some coin, but I don't know, man. It's upwards of like $300 depending on what you're doing.
Yep. It's a lot of money. And so we just decided what we're going to do is for Riker's birthday and Amy's birthday, because they're literally 2 days apart, we're going to head on off to Florida. And that's what we did.
There you go.
For a couple of days. And so we went to Universal Studios, and I think I was able to throw Christmas in there as well.
You think?
I
feel like you have to outline that before you get there.
Too? Like, really, Dad?
All I'm saying, listen, these trips are expensive, and if I can somehow get Christmas presents thrown into the Florida trip as well, it saves me from shopping.
Cheapskate.
Wow.
When Dan says, how much are you paying for these parties? They're expensive. And I say, and he goes, well, I decided to fly to Florida, save some money. I'm like, what? That doesn't.
How does that work?
I don't know if the math is mathing.
Well, whatever. Moving right along. Had a great time, though, in Florida. I know Amy posted a picture of me in my rum-filled stupor.
Yes, she did.
I don't know if you guys follow
Catching
Amy.
flies, mouth open.
Yeah, your rum nap.
Yeah.
It was. That's what it was. It was a rum nap. The last day we went out to the pool, and I had a drink or two, and before I knew it, man, I was snoring. And Amy was like, "Oh my God,
that's not my husband."
I woke up and she's like 5 chairs down.
That's hilarious.
Taking pictures of me and posting them on the internet.
Yes.
Was it? But you know what? I was all upset. I had to drink my blues away because I'd been suspended without pay. Yeah. So there you go. All right, you had something for this, Chris?
Yes. You guys know who John Hinckley Jr. is, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah, he's the guy that tried to assassinate Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
He's been getting a lot of requests to take up his old mantle again.
Murder?
Yeah, a lot of liberals on Twitter. A lot of liberals on Twitter have been reaching out to him, asking him if he would, essentially pick it up one more time and go for Trump. It's like the idiocy of the left. This guy didn't succeed the first time, and then you want him. But it led
he's
him,
a lot older now. His eyesight probably isn't as good.
It led him to have to put out a tweet where he writes, "I'm a man of peace now. Please stop with all the negative comments."
Oh my gosh.
That's how many leftists have been hitting him up to assassinate the president-elect.
He's on Twitter?
He's on Twitter. John Hinckley 20. You don't follow John?
No, shocking, I know.
We DM memes from time to time.
You do not.
No, I'm just joking.
Okay,
I'm just joking. John, you seen this one?
I haven't seen it.
Hilarious.
No.
They have no shame. I played this earlier. Let me play it again real quick. John, is my audio up?
Yes.
This was a woman, and she's talking about her relationship with her husband.
Look, I mean, Kamala underperformed in...
That's not it. Let's see. This is it. Hold on.
I thought you were about to roast Bill Maher.
Look, I mean, Kamala underperformed...
No, I don't know why this is not working.
Is this the woman talking about her husband? That
It's funny.
He's just shaking off the suspension.
Look, I mean,
rust.
Kamala underperformed in every demographic.
Now my computer is giving me the something's happened to my computer.
Well,
anyway,
your computer is stopped in protest.
That's exactly
Trump
right.
won. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
It won't be as exciting, but we could do a recreation of what she's said.
Sure.
Go
ahead, Johnny.
Hold on. I think I have it over here.
Okay.
Speaking to me is a privilege. You do not have privileges.
That's actually a woman on TikTok, and she's talking. And listen, first of all, I think I speak for all men that watch that video. Speaking to you would not actually be a privilege.
No.
Not speaking to you and not watching your videos and perhaps being divorced from you would probably be a privilege. If you're a man, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
Why are you pointing at me like that?
If there's the woman in your life comes to you and says, speaking to me is a privilege, and I'm not going to speak to you because you voted for Donald Trump. I'm certainly not going to be sleeping with you.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I'll help you shave your hair off.
I'm sorry, but that's a deal breaker. I mean, if you're...
Well, what about this woman that's on that came out and said that she has kicked her husband out of the house?
Yeah,
and
I've
to
heard this.
get even with him for voting for Trump, she's going to sleep with his friends.
That'll teach him.
Yeah, my gosh.
With his liberal friends,
His
because
liberal
he
friends.
voted for her husband voted for Trump.
Do you know what?
So-
I would say bye-bye.
I would too.
I mean,
Yeah.
now, the thing that is heartbreaking is you have perhaps kids are
Kids,
involved.
yeah.
Right.
And if there's kids involved in this, then I think that father should get custody because the woman clearly is mentally ill.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I would, and somebody may get mad at me for saying that, but it's true. If a woman does that and says that, and she does it like out in public, then she's got a screw loose.
Not only that, but I mean, something like that, if that happens in a marriage, how grounded do you think it was before the election? It couldn't have been very good.
That's the other thing, Joan, is this is not a normal marriage to begin with.
No.
So, as I said, I mean, if this is happening, and is this perhaps being overblown? Did I see a story right that a woman killed a husband with an ice pick?
What?
Good gracious.
Over the election?
Over the election, yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
People are nuts.
They are nuts.
How's this for journalism? I'm pretty sure I saw that on the internet. Go ahead and put me out there on MSNBC. But anyway, yeah, I did see that headline. But I was telling Chris off the air, I've decided not necessarily to continue covering the idiocy of the left because it is low-hanging fruit. And honestly, I think that at this point, we've seen it, heard it, and we're ready to move on. But I do find it interesting that MSNBC, of the few viewers that they had, they're losing viewers as well.
Yeah, they've lost like 50% of their viewers.
Which leaves them at like 1.
Yeah, exactly.
and it's a conservative who's just mining for salt.
How do you spell ice pick? Is it 1 or 2? P-I-C?
2.
P-I-C-K?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I just looked it up too. I'm seeing the Times has husband voted for Trump. Use this poison, TikTokers advise.
Oh, that's the other thing. The
poison
on TikTok, they're talking about poisoning husbands.
Yeah.
If you were my husband, I'd poison you. If I was your husband, I'd drink it.
That's good. That's good. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere. Anyway,
I did. I looked it up. I didn't see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
All right. I'll retract it.
You don't want to get suspended again, Dan.
No.
Yeah. Come on.
Of course, there's always Florida.
There is always Florida.
And rum.
There's Florida and rum. It awaits. And so next time I get suspended, I'll just do that again. Anyway, moving right along. Anybody else got anything? Did you hear about Wicked and the Wicked dolls that are out there?
How insane is that?
So there is, and we did talk about this in the 5 o'clock hour, but the movie Wicked is coming out, and they've got these Wicked, are they dolls? What do you call
dolls,
those
yeah.
things?
Is anybody excited about the movie Wicked?
Dan is. I just want you to know right now.
You are?
Like, don't
Dan's
wade
very
into those
excited.
waters.
Oh,
Dan's
Green
very
Witch.
excited.
Green Witch. That's right. Keep
I didn't even think about that.
Moving right along.
So they come out with these.
Hey, your little dog, too.
When I ask Amy to talk sexy to me, I ask her to do the Wicked Witch voice.
TMI. La 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 la. Don't want to hear it.
I'm sorry.
Grab the broom.
Put that green face mask on, baby.
Oh, honey, I'm feeling frisky. Put the black hat on. Yeah, moving right on.
Don't forget the pointy shoes.
Pointy shoes off. Okay. Anyway.
If you'll wear the slippers, Dan.
Thousands of Mattel's Wicked branded fashion dolls are flying off the shelves. Here's the problem, is that they have a pornographic website that is on the packaging as opposed to the website for the movie. And so apparently the pornographic website is called, what was it again, guys? Do you remember? It was not wicked.com landing page. It was
Well, why do you want to
something
give out
else.
the we don't need to give the actual website out, right?
I did earlier.
I know. I know.
Another suspension.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's good I can't find it in the darn story.
Peddling in porn. Great.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, all right, it had the name Wicked. So they basically printed a pornographic website on the packaging.
How many got sold, and do you think that they're going to be worth something someday?
I do.
Probably.
As sick as that is, I do think.
People are dumb.
Yeah.
And they'll think that's somehow cool.
Yeah. It's a misprint. Or was it?
You know, that'd be pretty.
That's
See,
where
what
my mind went.
what I said in the 5 was how they couldn't buy this kind of advertising. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I can't find the website. I told you to look it up.
Johnny,
Did you?
Didn't you listen?
Did you?
I'm really going to look up wicked pictures.
.com.
No.
All right, Chris, moving right along.
I'm not going to get fired for you, Dan.
Chris, what's coming up?
Or suspended.
Yes.
Well, I spent a majority of yesterday morning talking about Marsha Blackburn and which way people are thinking that she's going to vote. And at about 9:16 a.m.
I didn't hear about that.
At about 9:16 a.m., she decided to put out a statement on Twitter, and right around 10 a.m., I received a phone call from the Marsha Blackburn camp. So we'll talk about that and more.
Ruffled some feathers.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the power of this radio station.
It's undeniable. And
It is undeniable.
And it's thanks to our listeners.
Chris thinks we're kidding. I mean,
I don't think, what do you mean? Don't put that on me. I don't think we're kidding. That's why I signed up to be here.
I'm not being facetious. The power of this radio station is actually pretty incredible.
No, it's insane.
It is absolutely insane. And you're right. It's all about the listeners.
100%.
So,
well, they filled up her. So I said, call Marsha and let her know what you're thinking. Within an hour and a half, I was getting messages saying, voicemail's full. That's this radio station.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So, and they didn't give in. See, okay, I'm just going to say this. There's such a huge difference between John Thune and Rick Scott.
Yeah.
Now, and have you taken an official? We're running late. You haven't taken an official position on this, have you?
It's like I'm not here to defend the honor of Rick Scott. I just think he's going to fall most in line with the Trump agenda.
Right. Exactly. All right. Very good. 8:54, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. So many reasons to like my two-way paradise, the Glock store. Now, number one, it is a great place to buy guns, buy ammo, get your firearms customized, and also the training. I continue my training to this day at the Glock store. I love their training. I love their Shoot 270 indoor ranges at the Glock store. Massive rooms where you can refine your shooting skills, firing behind corners, in the dark, in motion, various target levels as well. So don't settle for lane ranges. Go to the Shoot 270 indoor ranges at the Glock store. This is a great place to buy and to train as well. Find them online. It is shoot270.com. Be sure and tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Shoot270.com. Minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.